Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. And of course, it is Geraldine Orozco night and the spiritual you, and we are in for a very, very special show with Geraldine tonight, as it is all month long, because we get her once a month. And you know what? She has been stellar. Almost 4.5 years she's been doing this with us now, and I absolutely love her for it. All right, let's say hello to everyone in the chat room. Snakes on a UFO in the gold medal position. Race fan with a silver. Michael Smith with the bronze. And Michael, thank you so much, Smithy, for kicking off the super chat tonight. Very much appreciate your support of Spaced Out Radio. Cosmic Floor looking gorgeous tonight. The lovely and talented Dana Stinnett Jackson has shown up in our chat room. We don't know where she came from, but we're glad she's here. All right, there's gorgeous Aussie Ange. Peppa H, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Ed Clater, where you been hiding lately, buddy? Good to have you back. John Swan, thanks for coming on in. As we continue on with the roll call tonight, rooted in gorgeous sacredness, Peppa H, Nicola, thank you for joining us. Spooky Morales, Black Dragon, our favorite Marine around here. Grand Paul Holland, good to have you back. Wes H, nice to see you. As we continue on with the roll call, moving on here. Jack Clark, Fidgety Aura, good to have you here. Wes Cook, good to have you back. And we continue on here. There's gorgeous Helena. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Zed Smith is here. There he is, everyone. Dr. Zed Smith. He'll be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the right of the studio. To the right of the studio. There's Oumuamua. Nice to have you back. Thank you for joining us as we continue on here. Nicola, thank you so much for that amazing super chat. We really do appreciate your support of this show. Super chat, by the way, is open and a great way to support what we do here on a nightly basis on Spaced Out Radio. Moving on here as we got Luscious Jules. Nice to see you again. Tom, nice to have you here. Mennonite Abe, it's always a pleasure to see you. As there's Chad Smith, everyone. The Chad Smith. There he is, the legend himself. All right, Millennium's here. Thank you for coming on in, Millennium. As we Brock Landers, by the way, will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. And there he is. Dirt Road, good to see you. The gorgeous and talented Kira has returned. Richard Elmore, thanks for coming on in. And who else do we have here? Big Willie's here. How's your beard? Give us an update. The stunning Marie from Los Angeles has returned. Luana, how are you? It's your monthly visit to Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you back. Xochitl Paez. I don't know who you are, but you're brand new. You like Geraldine. We like Geraldine around here too. Welcome to our channel. Thank you so much. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you don't mind. Vinman, Stevie Franchise, Low Pro, Oob to Joe's Main, You've Got Aliens. And, of course, a couple of super chats right here. We have Rooted in Gorgeous Sacredness at Dirt Road. Thank you so much. $5,900. Bob Birkin, good to see you. Michael Smith again. Goya Based, thank you so much for joining us. My goodness, you guys are on the ball. Simply Coco is here. What is your beverage of tonight? The gorgeous and talented Simply Coco, please give us an update. Stunning Carol, nice to have you here. Lovely Jenna, nice to have you back. The pride of Manitoba. Manitoba Becky is here. They call her the Wheat Queen. Oracles and Beyond looking lovely tonight. Thank you for joining us, and we are caught right up. So sit back, relax. We're about 30 seconds away, and there she is. Look how lovely Geraldine is looking tonight. Yes, as per usual.
Hey, everybody.
Her hair looks fantastic. And we are 20 seconds from going live here as well. And we're in for a good show. We really are. It's going to be fan-frigging-tastic.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be. All right, 15 seconds. Thank you to all the veterans who are tuning on in. Thank you to all our regulars who are hanging on out. We appreciate you. And 5 seconds. Get your horns up. Why? Because it's time for Mr. Bumblefoot. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Hit up the swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. I'll tell you, we are in for one heck of a show tonight because Geraldine Orozco returns for the October edition of The Spiritual You. A monthly contributor to this show, Geraldine comes in to talk about everything from ET contact to your own spiritual connections. A fan favorite at conferences and on YouTube as well as around here, Geraldine is a wealth of knowledge, helping people understand their body, mind, soul, and experiences. Her website, spacedoutradio.com. That's mine that she helped build. GeraldineOrozco.com is her website. Geraldine, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio again. We'd love to have you here.
Dave, so awesome to see you. I'm so happy to be here. Always a pleasure, and so much. It just feels like coming home and seeing all of you guys coming here. So thank you so much for joining us.
You are always way too kind. Way too kind. You have been a busybody lately. A lot of people who may not have, outside of this show seen you, or maybe they've heard you on podcasts or whatever, got to see you on national television recently.
Yes, it was very exciting, very interesting. And today we're really going to dive into it we're going to go deep into the back end of it. What's going on?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm very much excited to get into that with you as well, as you appeared on Demi Lovato's Unidentified, which I think is, I'm going to be honest with you. We'll get into it a little bit later, but I have mixed feelings. I do have mixed feelings. I'm very excited on one end, but I'm very on the other. And, you're going to help me clarify tonight. That's my
well, we'll talk about it. And you're not the only one. There's many. And I don't. Yeah.
But for you, though, the way you have blossomed in this field over the last 2 years, especially. I mean, I remember when you were timid. Lori and Fenton gave you your first ever interview. I was your second ever interview that you did. And I remember you being so timid and so shy and, sounding a little bit recluse, if we could say. And now we look at you, you are everywhere. And all these people are like, that's Geraldine Orozco. I know who that is. Oh, there's Geraldine. There's
really?
Geraldine. Yeah, there's a conference with Geraldine in it. Oh, there's a conference with Geraldine in it. I mean, you are everywhere. And I have to say this as your friend, I'm so proud of you. I am so proud that you have, when you stepped out of the woodwork in 2013 after your experiences to where you are now, and the way you have controlled yourself in a professional, honest manner, I think that everybody in the field of ufology could learn a thing or two about themselves by watching your professionalism and your candor.
Wow, that really means a lot to me, Dave. And you have to remember that when it was so fast that everything happened. It went from 3 people knowing to a room full of 100 people, right? So it was incredibly fast. So I had to catch up pretty quickly. But, as you know, Dave, the way that these things happened were absolutely meant to be. And I believe there's a divine order to these things. It's not something that I've sought out or something that I looked for or tried to get into. The opportunities just kind of present themselves. And if they feel in alignment, I would do it. And, I'll talk to you about this show, for example. I mean, right before I did the show, I didn't even know that I was going to be speaking with Demi Lovato. So this is how insane, these projects are sometimes. There's so much secrecy, so much control about what's being said, what's being done around them sometimes. So it's kind of a roller coaster.
So for you, people who may not know who you are an experiencer. You are someone who now takes that experience along with your own abilities and meditation and health to really try and provide openness and security for many people who may not understand what's going on. How important is it to you to deal with people on a daily basis where you are providing help, health, nature, and understanding for what they are going through? And it may not just be on a spiritual level, it could be on a personal level as well.
Yeah, Dave, this is honestly my life. You know, I wake up in the morning very excited to start and jump into my hypnotherapy sessions, to my DNA reprogramming sessions with my clients, and I am thrilled to sit here and work with them, diving deep into all of the suffering, the repetitive patterns, all of the pains, everything that people are going to, that humanity is going to. Because when I deal with one person, it's a reflection of our collective and what most people are dealing with. So to me, it's a great honor to do that. And that's really my number one priority. It's not even so much about talking about aliens or ET contact or interdimensional contact. For me, the purpose is to help inform as much as possible the human being that is going through any kind of experience in the unknown, whether that's spiritual or interdimensional, and help support in that, creating a strong foundation, because it can be very, very daunting, very, overwhelming. And we're going through dark nights of the soul. I mean, lots of people are going through major awakenings right now. And that's something that we're going through collectively, especially with all of these topics coming out, with the government releasing their little documents, and all of these mainstream shows that are talking about these topics. I think we're headed into a direction where more kind of merging into these kinds of unknown topics. So we need to be ready for that. Spiritually, mind, body, and soul.
How do you cleanse yourself? Dealing with
Cleanse.
dealing with people, dealing with their emotions, the dirt that's stuck to them, the spiritual darkness that's stuck to them. How do you make sure that you are healthy?
Yeah. Well, a good healer, and a healer that understands energy exchange, right? Always needs to stay neutral in a time of supporting and holding space, and always know that the healing work that's being done, it's not about me. I don't do anything except hold space for the person to dive deep into this discovery, to dive deep into the healing. And with my abilities, my psychic abilities of seeing everything that they can see, guide them gently through that process to find exactly what they need to know in order to help them heal and to move and to evolve. And that neutral place that is not invested in any kind of one solution or answer, which is different than sometimes ourselves, is sometimes helping broaden the perspective about events like that cause suffering and pain. So for me, it's not something that I take on myself. We are all going through ups and downs in this cyclical cycle of evolution. And trust me, I've had very, very hard times in the past couple years myself. Existential crisis with the amount of downloads of information that I received myself, having to integrate and process that very quickly in order to continue to understand the movement that was happening, and catching up to my own life that was just kind of forming before me. As I guess, like I'm saying, it's like divine order, having to understand what my place was in that. And then among that, having discernment and understanding who I'm working with. Why am I working with certain people? So everything falls into place when we stay in a state of neutrality and we are true to our understanding of who we are and what we're here to do. And that's the kind of clarity that really helps create a strong foundation in this kind of work.
Okay, and I understand that, and I can appreciate that. But how does this work for the client, where you are working with them? Are they seeing you once a week, once a month, once every couple of days? How does this work?
Yeah, so for a DNA reprogramming, for example, it's a 1.5 hour to 2 hour session. And in this session, we dive deep into wherever you feel blocked, wherever you are doing your meditation work, or for example, you have a trigger point with family, friends, your partner, your career, and we dive deep into that trigger point. We open up that trigger point. We take, using hypnotherapy techniques, but you're not all the way in hypnosis. We take you back to the root cause of this blockage. And usually it ends up going to childhood, and sometimes it'll go to a past life. So we work with that part of you, and we begin to reintegrate the healing of that part. Usually when we experience trauma, fragmentation occurs, and fragmentation means that an aspect of yourself is literally suspended in that timeline. So the ability to revisit that experience and change the perspective of what occurred there by broadening the way that you experienced it helps you release like years of stagnant pain, suffering, and incomplete beliefs that were created from those experiences. So it's a very powerful transformational thing that really is a long-lasting kind of healing. It's not just something that, I tell you some things from my perspective, which I can do psychically. I can give you all kinds of information, but unless you experience it, unless you understand it, it won't create a lasting effect. And that's really what this DNA reprogramming is about. It's about training you to do what I do, training you to activate your psychic abilities. And throughout the session, that's how it's set up. So at the end of the session, we work with the multidimensional body, clearing out the chakra system, clearing out all of the layers of the multidimensional body. And by the end of the session, you have a really nice understanding of how to continue that work throughout your day. So it's a pretty profound, and usually my clients will see me once a month. I usually have reoccurring clients, or sometimes they will alternate between a DNA reprogramming and a hypnotherapy. The hypnotherapy is when they're ready to dive in really deep into, now that they have cleared blockages, usually they can access a lot more information, usually interdimensional contact, past lives, and kind of help the soul move through any kind of stagnant, repetitive programs that we haven't been able to break for centuries and lifetimes. So that's kind of how it works.
Oh God, I need to see you.
I would love to work with you. Yeah.
You know why? I'll tell you. I had a little bit of a scare a week and a half ago.
Really? What happened?
I did. My eye was sore. Like, look, when I played hockey, Geraldine, I wasn't the cleanest hockey player. Okay. I wasn't. And, every now and again, old Davy, believe it or not, would throw a punch and take a punch in the face. And, you get used to that. Well, the other day, my eye was really sore on the side. And then it ended up going straight to my nose underneath my eye. And so I wasn't sure, did I get punched in the face? Did aliens take me? Or did I get pink eye or something along those lines? So, look, I'm not a guy who rushes to the hospital on anything, because I have a high pain tolerance.
Mm-hmm.
But this kind of scared me because it's the eyes.
Right.
And so I went and got it checked out. So I'm sitting there in emergency and they call me in and, they take my blood pressure and I find out that I have high blood pressure.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the nurse is like, "Are you stressed?" Yes. I said, "I work 16 hours a day, for the last almost 7 years. And I'm tired. I don't sleep enough. I drool when I sleep. There's a fun fact, so anyways, I've been getting the last week a little bit more health conscious. But I actually had a good friend. We were having a conversation within the last few days about this, about whether or not I have anger issues. Because I hold a lot in.
Yeah.
I hold a lot in, and I can feel the tension building in my back. And usually I hold it all in and I don't let it go. And then all of a sudden, poof, when I explode, I explode.
Right.
I mean, it could be by kicking my lawnmower, or maybe I got to go for a walk, or I disappear, because the one thing I don't like to do is I don't like to explode in front of the family, especially my kids. I don't like that. I grew up in a household like that. I don't like doing that. And early on, when I was a parent, when I was like in my 20s, I was like 28, 29, I totally went my dad in my
Mm.
house one day. It was
Yeah.
never violent or anything like that, but just very verbal. And my daughter actually told me, she goes, Dad, she was like 4 or 5. She goes, Daddy, you scared me.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
ever
Mhm.
since then, it's like, no more of that crap. Not doing
Wow.
that anymore.
Well,
Right.
that's beautiful that you recognized it, Dave. But do you see the pattern? Is this, and this is what I hear every single day. This is what is so, to me as a therapist, it's beautiful, right, to see that, because we begin to notice the cyclical patterns that are running through us. So we brought down this anger, and this anger is not just about our life and things that are happening. We are holding on ancestral stuff that we've been carrying for centuries, and so, and it's more than that. It's, we are affected by the system. We're affected by the things that we're doing in our life, survival mode that we're in, our responsibilities, all of these little things add up to that. So if you get to the root cause of that anger and you begin to change that, none of that will affect anymore, and you will become more calm, and more importantly, you will have more life force in you, because what happens is we end up getting drained. We don't realize how much energy we're draining by little things that trigger us throughout the day, until we end up exploding, as you just explained to us. But little tiny things that trigger us drain our life force, and we end up like spaghetti by the end of the night, right? And so this is not good for us, and this is what causes health issues. Now, another important thing that I saw from what you said is your eye. Depending on what side of the which eye was being affected, will tell you exactly where you are storing that information. And if it's the right eye, it's the divine masculine, it's the father. So there are tremendous connections to that. If it's the left eye, it's the mother. So these are the representations of how those influences, the mother and the father, have affected us in our life. What do they mean to us? How do we embody that divine feminine and masculine in us? And it tells us a lot about how we can heal. So there, it's just so amazing to see those patterns, but we can begin to change our life just by understanding that simple thing.
See, this is why I talk about it. It gets it out,
Yeah, exactly.
rather than holding in. But, a lot of my frustration, as we got about 5 minutes before break here, a lot of my frustration has to do with the UFO field. A lot of it, because
Hmm.
it's not a nice place. You know what I'm saying? It's not a friendly place. It's not a place where, in my normal everyday life outside of this show, it's not a place I would really like to hang out. Look, I love experiencers. I love the stories. I love being able to bring people on and talk to them, because I'm always learning too. And that's one thing we can never ever learn enough. But one of the things that I'm finding very frustrating, which brings me a lot of stress with this show, is the fact that ufology is a very unfair game. And you look around, you see people who are I don't even know why I'm opening up right now. I never open up, but I'm going to open up. You see people who are brand new to the field, and all of a sudden, they're on a television show, or they, within a couple months, they've got like 10,000, 20,000 YouTube followers, or whatever it may be. And you're sitting here scratching your head and like, what the hell am I doing wrong? Or you hear the rumors like on social media about you, and hey, the bigger you get, the more rumors there's going to be. Are you fake? Are you real? Are you buying subscribers? Are you doing whatever? And it just drives me nuts. That catty BS out there has just pushed me over the edge, and I'm trying my best to ignore it. I really am. I look at our crowd, our audience. They are fantastic people. Fantastic people. Without them, we don't have.
Absolutely.
Without them, without our, and not just the people in our YouTube chat or Facebook or Twitch or Revolution Radio or wherever, everybody listening to us tonight on our terrestrial affiliates, on the podcast side, wherever. Okay. They are the most important people, because if we don't do it for them, they've put their trust in us, then we're letting them down.
Hmm.
And
Right. Well, that's the problem.
and that's
Yeah.
responsibility.
Right. Yeah.
But
And that's the biggest part of it. And that's something that we in the UFO community have to recognize, that it has nothing to do with followers, with fame, with anything. It has to do with the service that is here, that's being spread, the mission, the message, right? That's very important, that needs to be spread. And whoever it is that spreads that message, is putting a piece to the puzzle. Now, it's not without saying that, there is another side of all of that, and there is a directive, and there is specific information that does get pushed ahead more than others. And that's something that we have to question, all of us, not just us in the UFO community, but listeners out there that are watching all of this, because sometimes they see this and it looks like a circus, right? There's little battles going on between UFO people, and it's, as usual, it just becomes another drama. But it's the same in any field. I mean, I see the same in the entertainment industry. I see the same in every single field. It's the same kind of feelings and emotions, which is unfortunate, because right now the primary thing we need to focus on is unity. It's incredibly important, mind, body, and soul, in anything that we're doing, that we begin to focus on how can we unite instead of separate. So this is really where our attention needs to be.
Okay, so I'm going to fire a question at you as we got 2 minutes left. How do you, like, every time you appear on this show, you seem in control, you seem very vibrant. I know there's been times where you've been tired on this show.
Oh, yeah.
I've talked to you about that.
You remember, yes.
You were someone who's literally going, 18, 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I can empathize with your schedule. I really can. But how do you ground yourself in about 90 seconds here to just relax and take it all in, and whether it's positive or negative, push that negative energy into love energy, and pass it on to others who need it?
Because it's beyond me. My struggles, my exhaustion, my things that I go through are a very limited perspective of the whole. And I'm not here for just me. As a conduit, something that we have to remember, the responsibility of being here, taking the time of all these incredible people that are here listening, that's valuable. So we have to hold space as much as possible, sharing that love. And that's what gives me love, the love that I see here in these chat rooms, the fact that they show up, they're interested, they want to know. That to me is the soul speaking on a much louder scale. And that's what I listen to. That's what inspires me to keep going. And the focus is that love. I embody that love. It's beyond our little petty problems. It's way beyond that.
I can see that, and I can appreciate that. And, I'm working on it. I've started dieting. I'm
Great. I think you're doing amazing, Dave.
And the only thing that I'm scared of right now is the scale. I'm very scared of
Don't even look at the scale. I stopped looking at the scale years ago, and I've never been fitter.
You're literally that thin.
Yeah, but I wasn't always that thin, Dave.
Yeah, sure. The gorgeous and talented Geraldine Orozco is with us tonight on Spaced Out Radio for another edition of The Spiritual You. And when we come back, we're going to get into Unidentified with Demi Lovato, where Geraldine played an important role with this young lady as she embarks on her tour of ufology and the paranormal in general. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this. We're clear.
Nice.
Yeah. Right. Trying to get caught up here, and the chat room keeps moving. Gorgeous Carla, how are you? Good to see you. I'm going to get this wrong. I apologize. Guo or Juo? Mashi? I'm pretty sure I got the last name right in Mashi. Robin Hood, how are you? Thanks for coming on in. Alien Critter, good to see you. How do you, Geraldine, let me ask you while we're on break. Hi, UFO Not and Magnus, Jake Davis, more people coming in. How do you deal with your, how can I put this? I never see you frustrated.
Okay? I get frustrated.
No, but even when we've talked off the air, I never feel, hear, or I never hear you frustrated or feel frustrated.
Well, Dave, I think more than anyone else, the dark times that I've been through in this field, right?
Yes.
So there were times where, it was shocking, things that were occurring around me. But again, I really try, and I remember my foundation of being an observer in all of that. And that also taking accountability. That is actually my saving grace, because nothing happens to us just as a coincidence. And if it isn't for that truth, Dave, I don't know if I would be able to overcome the amount of things that have happened to me, and especially in this field.
Okay. This is where I got to button up. I would like to have a private conversation with you.
Sure.
When you're free. Okay. And I know we talk about that a lot, but I'm at that point.
I understand. So we should talk.
I am recognizing I am at that point. Not that I'm not, and trust me, I know this is going out live on YouTube and Twitch.
Yeah.
I am very happy with this show. I couldn't ask for a better audience, better teachers, better opportunities, anything like that. Okay. And the people I've met have been phenomenal. They really have. But I think I'm at a point now where I just need to release a bunch of shit.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
And great.
Like, I'm angry. I haven't had a real quality UFO experience in 3 years. Coming up 4 years. That's just like that big. That big.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I hate. I really am starting to hate this community. Not the people, not the audience.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Yeah. But the overall aspect of the community.
I think once you see behind the little stars and glitters and all the things, you can see a very, very sobering reality. That kind of, it's interesting. But to be honest, Dave, what I've noticed in my experience, many fields are the same. The thing is that we always seem to glorify things. Even the spiritual community is exactly the same. They have the same little demons in their closets that they keep hiding. So I understand your frustration, but it's something that we have to process, and it's a moment for growth. It means that we need to step up our game in maybe a different direction or expand somewhere bigger. So that's what I've learned from that experience personally.
Yeah, and I was having a conversation with Samantha Mowat about it yesterday, and Samantha is one of my gurus in this whole thing. And, just listening to her, and, even she's confused with some of what I'm going through. And when I can't get a straight answer out of her, I kind of get like this, oh my God, really kind of situation. Not that it's anything bad or anything, but I'm just trying to, like I said, I need to release a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, we should talk for sure. Let's definitely set that up this week.
Absolutely. I want to just take a quick second here, say thank you to all the veterans who are tuning us in tonight. You always have a safe home here at Spaced Out Radio. We love you and thank you for everything you've done. And to the super chatters tonight, Smithy and Nicola and Dirt Road and Rooted and Gorgeous Sacredness and Michael and Brock and Carlito and Ozzy Ange. Thank you. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And thank you to all of our regulars who are in the chat room, including Willie's Beard, who we absolutely love and adore, each and every one of you, because you guys make this so worth it. And get ready. Here comes the second half hour. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you have listened to portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with the amazing and talented Geraldine Orozco. GeraldineOrozco.com is her website. She comes in once a month. Yeah, my tongue got tied there. Once a month. Anyways, Geraldine just joins us once every 30 days to come on in for the spiritual you. And you know what? She makes us laugh. She makes us think. She is one of the most brilliant voices in ufology and the spiritual world. Geraldine, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave. You're so wonderful.
Once. I've invented a new word. But I want to get into there's a big controversy, if we could call it a controversy, in the UFO world. And that is former Disney star, incredible musician and singer, Demi Lovato has come out as an experiencer. All right. And this television show, has done a 6-part series on a television show called Unidentified, which is on the Peacock TV network in the United States. And of course, in Canada, we don't get it.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh, you know what? I was speaking to the producer, and the producer was telling me that it was going to be available on this other network. Let me find it while you're thinking really quickly. Let me just see what the name is, because there's another one that he says it's international. Maybe you have it in Canada. It's called, let's see, what did he say? Hewitt channel. Are you familiar with that?
No.
He says it's which NBC owns outside the U.S.
I'll take a look for it on my
Okay.
cable.
Yeah, because I have a lot of international friends that are also asking. Yeah.
So here we have a beautiful young lady who is extremely talented, extremely famous, has combined over 115 million followers on social media, which is extremely impressive.
Insane.
And now she's getting into the UFO game. Now, a few months ago, we had learned that Demi Lovato had taken in a Dr. Stephen Greer CE5 session. And out of the blue, we find out that she could be an experiencer. Now, you show up on the television show, which I think is fantastic. Anybody I'm going to support anything that actually, I'll be biased here. I'm going to support anybody who actually picks you to do anything on television, because I think you're amazing that way. But for you, how did you get involved with this?
Well, the producer I worked with on a couple other shows, and it's funny because it seems to always be the same beautiful group of people that are part of production. It started with Extraordinary the Seeding, and the same people that were on the team were doing Unidentified with Ben Hansen. What was the name? Yes, I believe it was, there was another show with Ben Hansen. And then after that, we did another show that was basically just recently, it was a 2-hour special called ET Contact something on the Travel Channel. There were 2 shows on the Travel Channel. And so the same producer of that show is the one that was doing this show with Demi, but they keep everything under wraps. So they tell me that a celebrity is interested in talking about their contact experience, not really specifying who it's going to be. So they let me know what they want to know about, and they already knew my story from the other experiences, and they just invited me on set. And this is really how it happened. I actually didn't know Demi before I met her, because I'm not very much into mainstream. I don't listen to mainstream music. So when I met her, it was completely somebody I've never heard of before. And she was very nice, very, very humble. And, it was a pleasure to work with her, and very sincere. And, you gotta understand that the conversation that we had was over an hour long. And whatever was taken from that conversation for the show, unfortunately, is just teeny little tiny pieces of our conversation, But the connection and the experiences that she's had since the childhood are actually pretty impressive. and she knows her stuff. We're not talking about somebody who just came across this topic. I mean, she's been in the topic for a very long time, and she knows a lot about the history of the ufology. She knows a lot about different contactees, and stories about their experiences. So, I was pleasantly surprised that I was speaking to somebody that actually had done the research, that actually understood herself as an experiencer, and I left there knowing that she is an experiencer. And we had a lot of parallel experiences. Lights in the room as a child, experiences with our menstrual cycles. And her most important experience, which just happened recently, where there were the grays that came into her room and she had hypnotherapy for that. But she had other experiences as well. One of the most impressive things that really shocked me were that she was taken to the Pleiades. And in the Pleiades, she was able to see pink and purple skies. And one of the most powerful memories that I have when I was consciously taken on board craft and taken to the Pleiades, that's exactly what I saw. And we began to describe the Pleiades exactly as we saw it. So, it really makes you wonder, and I have a lot of people in my support group that also describe the Pleiades in that same way. It really makes you wonder, are we dealing with some kind of collective, psychosis where we're programmed to believe that, the Pleiades looks this way, or truly, we are visiting this foreign world with this kind of strange makeup. So, it was a powerful connection with her. I have to say, very powerful.
Did you exchange numbers?
No, I was very shy. I can only imagine how many people want to connect with her. And I didn't want to
Yeah.
be one of those people for her. But she did ask me for my number and she said we would connect at some time. So, I'll just leave it to her. Whenever she feels like she needs to reach out, she will reach out to me. Yeah.
I think from the responses that I have heard
Hmm.
about the television show, and Lynn Wallington is going to have Andrew Knock on this show
Nice.
in a
Okay.
few weeks, and we're
Hmm.
going to learn more about it and the importance.
Nice.
Here's my concern, and I've said this publicly, so it's nothing that I am going to be, tripping on my words, so to speak. But I value and trust your opinion on something. And when you say the sky is blue, I'm going to believe you that the sky is blue. But for the ufology side of things, for those of us who've been in this idiotic gamut for a long time, and it's coming up on 7 years for me, the one thing that I have learned through, just watching people is we seem to get a lot of these, stars come out and see, oh, well, this is popular now. I'm going to do a television show about this.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I mean, we saw it with Rob Lowe, we see it with Stormy Daniels. There's other people who have tried to kind of run the gamut in the paranormal supernatural field. And to me, it's a little bit, maybe I'm a little protective of our field that we're in, but it seems like a little bit of a slap in the face when you have all of these people who've been working years on their research, some decades, some half a century, and we hear nothing from them on the public, not us in ufology, but the
Right.
public at
Right.
large doesn't even know who Peter Robbins is, or doesn't even know who Grant Cameron is, or even Geraldine Orozco, for instance. They don't know, and
Yeah.
they need to know. And then all of a sudden, we get somebody coming into the field that's who is a big name, has hundreds of millions or tens of millions of followers. And, I don't want to say it's jealousy, because it's not. A lot of people will be, oh, you're just jealous, and things like that. But then you find out, as some of my sources have said, that she's not talking to the UFO media. She's not talking to the UFO public. She's not going on, whether it's this show or whatever other shows are out there. And it's much the same. I look at it like Tom DeLonge, where Tom DeLonge completely ignored our entire field that we've been working our asses off for credibility and understanding and knowledge. And this is where I think a lot of people are immediately throwing daggers at the young lady who doesn't deserve it, or pardon me, I said that wrong, because she's non-binary now. All right,
Right, right.
but I apologize. I don't even know the term to use, but
I think it's they.
oh yeah, okay. But when we look at Demi, I mean, people are already throwing daggers at her within this community. And you've only known this for a short time. You weren't told who you were working for. I find that a little suspicious. I don't know how Hollywood works, so this might be the norm. I don't know. But to
It seems
me,
like it is a little bit sometimes, especially with the bigger celebrities. But yeah, please keep going.
but do you see where I'm getting at with all of this? It just seems trite in a way.
Well, here's my question, and the question that I have with all of these shows that I've been participating and that I continue to see coming out into mainstream, because it looks like, and please, let's take a step back and take a look at historically what's happening. I am beyond aware of how Hollywood is heavily influencing political movements, lobbying, major institutions, the pharmaceutical industry, I'm very aware of the programming and the movements that are being made for social engineering as a result of entertainment industry. I'm also very aware of how the entertainment industry operates on the dark end. So for me, my initial question when I first got invited onto this show was major skepticism and really wanting to check in, because I've asked millions of times before I started the show. I was asking, who are we working with here? What is it about? And primarily, the question is, are we going to make fun of the topic? Are we going to disrespect the topic? Or are we going to kind of dive into it with healthy skepticism and, kind of interest, a real genuine interest? And to me, that was one of the most important things, because what I see here is a trend that's coming in for the past already 6 years in the topic, Dave. And my question is, why? We had the government go ahead and do a space force. I mean, we should all be wondering why that is. That should be our number one question. Then second, we had the pandemic, which really readjusted many things in our society. And thirdly, we have a major push towards the ufology sci-fi topics. So to me, this is kind of like if you go back, 50 years to when we first started PR movements, why we started PR movements, we can trace back all of those little movements and look at what happened with Iraq, for example, and the war in Iraq, 9/11, all of these little things that fell into place piece by piece in order to create these little things. So for me, these are things that we need to pay very close attention to. And I think it goes beyond the UFO community. This is a global thing that's happening. There is a deep interest in the ufology topic. Why? This is the question. And there are two ways that we can look at it. I mean, one way is that we look at it from, okay, if we look at it from the side of the quantum field in which we're in the current state that the universe is in and us organisms are in, I mean, this is the perfect environment for evolution and the awareness of the non-physical, the awareness of everything that is in the quantum field, multidimensionality of the human body, multidimensionality of ourselves and other worlds, multiple worlds that we are participating and co-creating with. So from the spiritual perspective, I think it's incredibly important to talk about ET consciousness, ET contact for that reason, for the spiritual evolution of each person, and to break through the barriers that we have between the unknown, any fears that we have. This is the collective movement right now. And this is why we had the pandemic. This is why we're having many things that are moving us out of our comfort zones. So now let's look at it from the other side, from the side of, why is this strategically being put into the mainstream? Now, I mentioned before when we talked about the UAP release report that, is there going to be a certain technology that's going to be released at some point, or some kind of movement that this is kind of paving the road for? And I still believe that something like that is potential. There is something that this is paving the way for something. Because Dave, how many years in the ufology, we've never seen a celebrity of this size come out and talk about herself, in the way that she's doing. So I definitely, as a skeptic, have to question, why did she come out now? Because it's incredibly timely. And there's many other that are coming out right now about that. So this is where I stand. And I'm obviously, questioning and open and keeping a close eye on the things that are coming out right now. And in the community, I think we have to be very careful of that and understand, our role is important at this time, that we hold space and that we speak our truth and continue to shed light on these things. We, from the inside out, have to be the ones to, guide in the information that's being put out, in a healthy way, I think.
Yeah, and I can understand that and appreciate that. And look, let's be right honest for anybody who is, even myself, who is criticizing Demi Lovato coming out as an experiencer. We need more experiencers coming out.
Yes.
We also need more popular people who are experiencers coming out. We also can take advantage as a community of the 115 plus million combined subscribers that she has and followers on Twitter, on Instagram, and other social media outlets. Because what that does is that says, hey, if my hero to some 14 or 20-year-old girl or 8-year-old girl who loves Demi Lovato, it says to them, it's okay to talk about this. I see the benefits of this.
Right.
I really do. I may not agree with the way the show is put together, as I said to someone earlier, so I'm not being a hypocrite here.
Mm-hmm.
In the trailer that I saw and the pieces that I've seen online, to me, it looks like, and I mean this in jest. So if Andrew or Dave or anybody is listening, I mean this in a funny way. To me, it looks like the crew from the Mystery Machine driving around trying to figure out, who the ghost is, and they just don't have Scooby-Doo with them. And to me, if I were to make this, I think Demi is a great person to put this in. But if I was creating the film, I would have put a veteran ufologist or with her. You know what I'm saying? Or someone who could
Well,
guide her to that knowledge. Now, a lot of people will roll their eyes. They will. Okay, but when you have someone brand new like her, where all of a sudden it comes out, yes, she's been an experiencer her whole life, as you're saying, I'm taking your word for it. Okay. But if I look at the show from what I've seen, there's something missing. And that is, oh, I'm a UFO person now. And this is the way the UFO many people in ufology have taken this is, oh, I'm a UFO person now. Look at me go chase down everything.
yeah, I beg to differ. Definitely, don't see the show, and the reason why is because, I think back to my journey in discovering the ufology, right, and I didn't know the experts, not even a little bit. I didn't even know where to look for them. I didn't know what names to use. I didn't know what to look up in the internet, what terminology to use, because you have to remember that ufology, we have very specific terminology, and you have to be in the community in order to understand what to search for. So when I see her going out and questioning and doing things, I'm actually surprised that they consider doing the hypnotherapy, because a lot of people discount hypnotherapy as a valuable, resource for this. So I think it's wonderful that they included that as a part of the show, and I think that Demi's interest in, going into the topic and looking at these different things as an experiencer, as someone that is coming into the field new, is a wonderful demonstration on how we can all do that. And that's where it begins. And then you meet other experts, other people. But also you have to remember that, the demographics that are following Demi, it's a much younger crowd, right? It's a much younger crowd that is just coming into the topic. And I think that's good. It leaves room for a lot. I think it has paved the road for interest of these incredible seniors that have been in the field for a long time to now, share that experience.
Oh, I fully agree with you on that. We
Yeah.
need younger people. We need people of her ilk and her caliber. I said it again. Their ilk and their caliber. I apologize. And I am sorry, I'm one of these people getting used to these new terminologies out there. I apologize. But I don't know. I'm having a hard time sinking my teeth into it. I love the fact that they brought you in there, that they brought Kevin Day in there, that they brought Lori McDonald in there,
Right.
talented people
Yeah.
who, and that's just who I know so far because once again, up here in Canada, I don't get the show. But I love the fact that the names that I'm seeing that she is talking to or they are talking to is people that I know and respect. And it's not about whether Dave knows or respects them, but people who, like yourself, who are well respected within the community. So I think that's a good thing. I really do think that's a good thing. But
Yeah, I think it's also good that they didn't just go directly to the people that are, for example, on very, very popular ufology shows, like, like the History Channel or Discovery Channel or things like that. I'm actually kind of surprised that they didn't do that, but also glad because it kind of broadens the platform to show that there is other people in the community that are doing the work. And I really respected that. I think that was nice of them to do that.
and I can understand that. You know, I just wish that in a perfect world, I wish that her handlers, her publicists, would at least allow her the opportunity to come speak to the UFO community. I think that would be very beneficial to what they is trying to accomplish. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm not sure why though. I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm missing something, Dave,
Okay,
because the UFO community is actually very small. I think it's amazing that she went outside the UFO community, which we need. We
okay, but
need that.
but in a different world,
Hmm.
Tom DeLonge did. All right. And Lou Elizondo has stated that one of the biggest mistakes that TTSA made was the fact that they did not include their support group, which was the UFO community.
Hmm.
They totally abandoned it. They want your money. They
Right.
want that investment from the UFO community of $200,
Sure.
but they ain't giving the UFO community anything. Sure,
Right.
they'll provide information, but they're not talking to the UFO community. You're beneath them. And a lot of
Mm.
people in the UFO community are burnt because of that. And, it doesn't matter whether you're a young gun, doesn't matter whether you're in the middle where we are or one of the old birds who's been around forever. All right. The UFO community, for a lot of people, felt very, very burned by that. And,
Mm.
and that is the kind of point we'll continue with this
Yeah.
after the break.
Okay.
All right. Geraldine Orozco is here for the Spiritual You. And we're going to go another 15 minutes, half an hour on the Unidentified show with Demi Lovato and her introducing ufology, paranormal to literally multi-millions of people. Is it good for ufology? What do you think if you're in one of our chat rooms or on Twitter? Geraldine's website, geraldineorozco.com. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this.
Hey, Space Travel.
Oh, I hit the wrong one. There we go. Hi, sorry.
Okay.
So I'm not going to talk about this because I want to continue it on the air
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
when we're back. All right. So I mean that's my big thing right there. I just want to make sure that the radio side can continue that rather than us give up a lot of cool juice during the break here.
Right. Right. Right.
And I'll be honest with you, you're convincing me. If Geraldine Orozco says that Demi Lovato is an experiencer, I'm going to believe that. I will believe that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, yeah. Yeah. Well, Yes, I do believe that. I do believe that. I mean, she's willing to go out on the line and talk to her about herself as that. That's kind of huge. I know how difficult that can be, and I think she knows too the kind of reputation that she can get. By putting that out to those that are more skeptical and more critical about the topic. So I think that's a important move.
But you know what? Even if she went on Coast to Coast,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be this show or Jimmy or I mean, go on Coast to Coast.
But would they invite her? That's the thing. I wonder if they would invite her.
George would totally invite they.
Mhm.
I did it right. Wow.
Yeah. Good job.
I'm trying here. And once again, to our non-binary listeners, and I know you're out there, I am trying. So please bear with me on everything. All right. My daughter I never talk about this. My daughter is part of the community, and if they wants to be called they, them, or whatever, I'm going to support my daughter. Okay. I
Beautiful.
may not, at 48 years old, I may not understand it. Okay. I may not even like it because I don't understand it, and change is difficult when it comes to the English language. But by God, with my daughter, I will do anything that makes her they happy.
Hmm.
Okay.
That's
So
amazing.
you got to forgive me for it. All right. So I don't really give a shit, pardon my language, about what anybody says. My daughter comes first.
Yeah.
So I am one of the old brutes that is learning. So forgive me if you're part of the LGBTQA plus community. Forgive me. I don't want harassment or anything like that. I'm learning. So that's all I'm going to say.
That's so great.
You know. Anyways, moving on. And if anybody takes any shots at my daughter, okay, I literally will fly to where you are.
I don't think anybody would do that in this chat, would they? Certainly hope not.
Yeah. Try me. Yeah, there's my anger coming out. Hey, Eric with a K is here, everyone. We are Eric with a K's fourth favorite show.
Wow.
We are number 4. We know
Very
Jimmy
cool.
Church is number 1, 2. We know Duke from World Bigfoot Radio is number 3. Actually, it's not Jimmy in number 2. I know who's in number 2, and I'm not even going to mention that person's name. So, anyways, I'm number 4. Thank you, Eric, for letting me be number 4 in your books. Look at that. He's blushing right now. Chill, man. Chill. Number 4, Eric. Number 4. Your hair looks fantastic tonight.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Usually you have it flat ironed for this
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, usually it's just straight. I don't really iron it, but this is my natural curly hair, so today I just felt like curls felt good. So
Good for you.
yeah. Yeah, thank you.
I'm number 2 in Zero Cool's world. I'm number 2. Yeah, Eric is the Awakening Man on Twitter. He's awesome. And he's like 6'11".
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, he's not that tall. I'm exaggerating by about 6 inches. He's like 6'5", 6'4", 6'5".
Oh, is this Eric from the conferences?
Yeah, he's at every UFO conference.
That's right.
He's a
Hi,
good dude.
Eric. Yeah.
He's a good dude. I like messing with him a little bit. It's a lot of fun.
He's great.
You know what? I will say this about Eric. The first conference I met him was the first conference I met you.
Really?
In San Francisco. And you know what? Eric was such a stand-up dude, he wouldn't even let me buy a drink. I offered,
Oh my
I offered to
God.
buy him dinner. I offered to buy him a drink. He's like, no, no, no. It's on me, man. It's on me.
Oh, that's so nice. Eric is always so wonderful.
Classy guy.
I am,
I
yeah.
bug a lot, but very classy guy. Eric was
I'm always so impressed with his dedication, to always being at the conferences and listening to everyone. I mean, I can only imagine his wealth of knowledge after going through so many conferences.
oh yeah.
It's really amazing. Yeah.
All right. Big thank you to the super chatters, Smithy, Nicola, Dirt Road, Rooted in Gorgeous Sacredness, Michael, Brock, Carlito, Ozzy Ange, and Kevin. And thank you to all the veterans. We're going to kick off hour 2 right now, everyone.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, at KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Jokos. Jokos is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Geraldine Orozco's The Spiritual You. Geraldine joins us for a monthly visit to hang out and talk about some really cool things, everything from healing your mind, body, and soul to alien contact. And just the love of the extraterrestrials. Geraldine, welcome back.
Thank you so much. Always such an exciting pleasure.
All right. Right before the break, we were talking about Demi Lovato, and I was mentioning the fact that they are a brand new star to the field of UFOs. They, as in Demi, are also really being kept away from the UFO side of people. Probably for a good reason, because let's face it, we're fickle in this field. But, like I said right before the break, when Tom DeLonge, and yes, Demi Lovato is not Tom DeLonge. No, she is not trying to, bring the government disclosure out.
Right.
Two totally separate entities.
Yeah.
We can get that clear. But where the similarity is when I look at it, and many others in the field of ufology are looking at it, is Tom DeLonge did his best to try and keep his team right out of the ufology field. Right out. Yes, they were bringing the videos out. They were doing mainstream media, and that was that. But they didn't make time for those who were supporting the cause, and that's what Lou Elizondo had said to me on this show previously. All right. And I just see this also happening with Demi Lovato because her persona, or their persona, is very large. It's very popular. They are popular from anybody from the age of 5 years old to 35, 40 years old. And they have that stigma of being a superstar. Now, if I'm her publicist, I'm not wanting her to go play in UFOs. I'm probably not wanting her to do this. But Demi chose to do this because it was important to Demi. So how do you find the balance on, yes, the UFO world is a very, very tiny speck in the grand schemes of major media, but you can't ignore the topic if this is what you're going to get into, much to the chagrin of what happened with Tom DeLonge.
Mm-hmm. I mean, The thing is that, Demi actually, she's actually been interested in the field for a very long time. Not in the field, in the topic. She's been interested in the topic for many years, actually. And I actually recently came across an interview that she did with some Tonight Show a few years back, where she was actually talking about this topic as well. So I don't think that she is incredibly new, to the topic itself. I think that she has spent some time doing research, getting to know. But Dave, I think we as the ufology community, we need to unite, and we need to spread out. We need to spread out too. We need to also get together and maybe make our own documentaries, make our own information. We have to get together and do these things so that we can put these things on the map if we feel that there's a specific way that they should be shared, and the problem with any kind of group like this is that oftentimes we get caught up in fame or the illusion of fame and all these things, and we forget that the purpose is to get the information out. And in order to do that, we need to unite. There's a lot of separation, even in our own field. There's a lot of separation. There's people that, depending on their beliefs, they're not invited to certain things. Depending on what they do, they're not invited to certain, we know that. We have that in our community. So those are the things that have to kind of stop happening, and maybe bringing it back into something that's more collective. I think that for the purpose that Demi did this show, I think that she succeeded in putting the topic out to the general masses. I think our real focus right now, Dave, aside from as a UFO community, should be in looking from the inside. What is the purpose of this topic coming out into mainstream now? Maybe as experts, we need to put our heads together and kind of begin to understand what that's all about. Because I think that is going to kind of tell us how the next few years are going to pan out. Because I think there's definitely something that is coming, that will occur, that will play a role, that is being kind of paved in these shows and all these things that are coming out. Maybe our focus needs to be in, if not preparing for it, just becoming aware of why these little puzzle pieces are being put together,
And I can understand that and appreciate that. I really can. But I keep bringing it back to the fact that there have been people in this field who have studied this for a long, long time, longer than you and me have been alive. And,
yeah.
And when I see, and look, I'm not stupid enough to sit here and say that there isn't a younger generation with new ideas, new values, new understanding of the phenomena, or a curiosity of the phenomena isn't going to happen. We see it every year, where there's more and more spiritual people coming forward. There's more and more authors. There's more and more podcasters. There's more and more YouTubers, and everybody's fighting for the last smidgens of the cheese pile. Right? So, and that's the reality of it. So when a big dog comes into play in the puppies field, and the UFO puppies being what we're in, it is a little grating for many people in the field. I'm not saying me, but I know in talking to a number of people this past week about it, that there's a number of people in this field that are jaded by it, and maybe just maybe they have a point. But maybe they're just being jealous.
I think that every single person in this field that has put time and effort in sharing their experience is a hero. And I think that if their message isn't getting out further, it's because of the separation that we have in our field. I think that we as a team need to put that information out. We have the resources, we have the platforms, we have the know-how. It's our job. Again, we have to stop waiting for the entertainment industry to be like, oh, I'm interested. Let's bring you on the show,
But the entertainment industry, for the most part, has made a mockery of what we do.
Sure, for many years, which is the question. Why is it coming out now? Exactly.
But I mean, if you look at all the paranormal television shows, you look at the killing Bigfoot or finding Bigfoot, where they take drum sets into the forest and make it look, oh my God, one of the producers sneezed behind the camera, squatch, squatch, squatch. All right. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
they've made a lot of television shows in our genre, which we take these topics very seriously,
Exactly.
as the dessert on at the end of the night, the reality TV comedy,
Yeah.
that you get a bunch of idiots running around, with lasers pointed in the sky, or running around, hooting and hollering in the dense forest,
Yeah.
and so they've done the Hollywood, as you stated, has not done this field any type of real service. Yes, they've got the product out. They've made a lot of money off of these products because the ratings show that. Okay, there's a reason why a number of these shows, whether it's Zach Bagans' Ghost Adventures or whether it's a number of these documentaries that Netflix has put out or Discovery Channel puts out, they're making a ton of money on advertising.
Right.
And you talk to anybody, let's talk to yourself about this with these television shows. You haven't made, you're very talented. You've done a lot of cameos, shall we say, on shows like Unidentified.
Yeah, but I don't make a lot of money on those.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's no money there, actually.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Where they are taking advantage because we as a field do not demand compensation for our knowledge. We do not.
Yeah. It's a sticky field. I mean, and so that's the thing. But you know what's interesting is that the interest is in the public, which is actually really important to notice, that the public is hungry for this information. They want the real information, but they don't know where to go to get it. So obviously they turn on the TV and they go into the shows that kind of can speak to that. And that's why it's become such a huge genre. I mean, the Travel Channel told me themselves that, they have so many seasons of this haunted shows, and it's unbelievable. They said that people just eat that up. They love it. So the question is, and as we see as a collective, we're going through a time of awakening in which we are becoming interested in these topics because we need to question, again, these other dimensional planes that we're a part of. And I think that it's a wonderful thing that this is coming in the field. But we need to somehow, as the experts in the field, help support those new people. For me, my biggest concern is the new people coming into the field, that they are somehow assisted in asking the questions, to continue asking the questions, not just taking what they see on TV as truth. Because a lot of times they edit these things to make it look scary or something horrible, And that's one thing about the show with Demi Lovato, that, they edited our conversation of an hour-long conversation into a very small little portion that was directly connected to some very specific part of that conversation that could be taken as something very negative and very harrowing for someone to experience. And unfortunately, that's part of the role that they're doing in creating these things. So we have to be very careful, our involvement, even being on these shows. We don't have any choice in what is published, and that's why my question always goes to the highest level. Who is behind this? Who is wanting these topics to be spoken about in the way that they're spoken about? And what can we do as a community in order to help support people that are coming into this field? Because Dave, right now, we're going to see an influx of interest in these topics. In the next couple years, more and more people are going to be coming to the conferences. It's not just going to be 200 people in the audience anymore. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more people coming to these kinds of gatherings and conferences. So I think it's just the beginning. I'm very excited about it, but at the same time, I'm also, skeptical to see what is the purpose. What is the purpose behind this? And I don't think that I think Hollywood is the machine that puts out these things in order to socially engineer the masses for some reason. What is the higher government doing? What is their purpose? Why are they doing this? Why is there a space force being built? Why have they done little micro dose disclosure? Why are all the news stations taking this more seriously now? I think that is where the attention needs to go. And we need the seniors of this community to now step up to the limelight and bring their knowledge and help us figure this out so that we can be prepared,
I think it's great. And I agree with you. But the UFO community is tired of having the wool pull over their eyes and being taken advantage of. They want the story. They want it out by any means possible. But when you have people like Tom DeLonge, or you have people like recently we've seen Angeli come on out and say she's taking a team
Oh, I
into.
don't know who that is. Okay.
She's a lady who apparently used to work in Washington, D.C., claims to be an experiencer, and that she has had a dream about taking people into a cave in the Mojave Desert on private land where there is going to be aliens there, and it's supposed to happen later on this summer. She has since fizzled out because a lot of her stories were not adding up. Okay, but long story short, a lot of people are claiming in the community that she pulled the wool over their eyes, giving experiencers once again a black eye in the whole idealism of ET contact. And this is where I think a lot of people with poor Demi, and I'm not saying that sarcastically, are going to blame Demi for what they've already experienced, because they see another one jumping on the bandwagon because it's popular right now. And but if you're sitting here telling us that she's a lifelong experiencer and you're convinced, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I told you, my question, because you have to remember, it's not about, and Demi is a very important human being, and her role in this is tremendous. But we need to remember that there are systems higher above this, and that's where my attention goes. Why? Why now? What's happening? We need to pay attention to that. This is where my attention and my questions go. It's Demi is doing a wonderful job for what she's doing, and I hope that the general masses take the good side of this, which is to question in multidimensionality, to question their reality. That is the takeaway that I hope that is being taken away from these conversations. But on the other side of that, the negative side of that is how will it be manipulated? Again, like you're saying, exactly. That is my concern. And it goes beyond Demi. It's above her. You need to remember. Any face that we see on TV is just the mask. There is something beyond that is directing this, because there are many shows that are talking. They want to include ET topics. They want to include them. Shows that you never used to have that topic. There was another show about twins or, brothers and sisters or couples that have interesting experiences, and they want to include ET topic in that. So, and TLC, they're doing all these kinds of shows. So there is a reason for that. And my question is why? So this is where my focus is going to be in the next couple, weeks in understanding what's going on. Yeah.
All right. Let's look at this now. All right, because we have young Demi. Well, I guess she's 29, so about to enter a new decade soon.
Yeah, she's very young. Yeah,
she has more money than all of us can ever imagine. Not that means anything, right? But I'm not going to lie. I would like that bank account. I know that I would have a tub full of dollar bills just so I could swim in it. I'd have to use American dollar bills, though, because we don't have dollar bills up here, and coins get a little heavy and painful. But do you think that Demi is the type of leader, or as Cedric in our chat room says, thank you, Cedric, is going to be the tip of the iceberg for a lot more popular people coming out as experiencers, or I shouldn't say popular people, let's say famous people coming out as experiencers? Or do you think that after the 6 episodes, this gets flushed under the rug. Her publicist will say, yeah, Demi, that was a great idea. Glad you did it, but let's not ever do that again.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that she's very genuinely interested in the topic. You know, our conversations there, when I listen very carefully, you have to remember that I work with experiencers all the time, and I listen carefully to the stories and their experiences. And there are certain, I can tell immediately, the ones that desperately want to have an experience in order to, find value in that experience. And you can tell the ones that are having these experiences for a very long time and have affected their life in a profound way. There's a difference between the quality of that share. There's keywords that you listen to and emotions that are expressed in the way that they are. And when you recognize that in someone, you understand that it's profoundly changed them. The contact experiences, experiencers that have actually had experience in that way, they are profoundly changed by this kind of contact experience. And I can tell that she has had this kind of experience. But again, it's not my place to judge or to trust or to qualify her. You know, if she would like to come out as the experiencer, you know, she can do that. That's fine. A lot of people that have had trauma in their lives, a lot of people that have gone through difficult times have come out. They have gone through major spiritual awakenings. Many of us in the field, and in our own field, have gone through major transformations and then come out publicly about your experiences. That's not something new, you know, and it's like a near-death experience. You begin to change perspective of life and what's important. I think she has genuinely experienced that. I mean, she talks a lot about meditation. She does meditation. She does a lot of these things. You know, she does live spiritual, and you can tell that she is in that. But in any case, the important thing is to take a look at, what's in the future. I know that her topics that she shares on her platforms are about this. I see her genuinely sharing these topics, interest in meditation. You can tell she's new to the topic. She's discovering things, you know, and that's great. I give her kudos for that. I give her kudos for the work that she's doing publicly. She held private meditations where thousands of people came to join her. They showed the clip of that in the film. I mean, that's amazing. That's wonderful. I hope that she continues to do that. My apologies. I hope that they continue to do that, you know, because that is a movement that we need right now. We need somebody that has such a big following to allow an open space for people to question their multidimensionality, their healing abilities, their psychic abilities, their remote viewing training, astral projection. And she is open about that. And I find that impressive. And I find it wonderful, you know.
Well, I'm going to end it the way we started this half hour. And that is there's 115 million plus social media followers who now know what being an experiencer is all about.
Yeah.
And in the end, that is literally 1/3 of America.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's 1/3 of America and the population.
Yeah.
Geraldine, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We are halfway done this broadcast so far. And when we come back with the lovely and talented Geraldine Orozco, what's the difference between the experiencer and someone who sees a UFO? Is there a difference? Should we draw a line between the two? GeraldineOrozco.com is her website. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right, we're clear. Hello to Jerkin. Hello, Gabriel. Welcome to our chat room. The gorgeous and talented Heather McIntyre from Vegas has returned. Look at that. And who else we have? According to Dave, Geraldine is a delightful and a deliciously lovely lady. That's why you're number 4, Eric. That is why you are number 4. Number 4, Eric. Well, we're number 4. You're not number 4. We're number 4. Damn it, you're getting me all flustered here. I'm blushing behind my whiteness on my face.
Oh, you guys are so great. Love you guys out in the chat. So much love to you. Thank you for your beautiful comments, your support. You're amazing. Yeah, really great comments. I think, the amazing thing that you really realize is that, our people that show up to these shows and that watch these things, they know, they question the same things that you and I question. It's not that they are not thinking about these things, and that's the beautiful thing. The thing is that we need to remember the 99%. We're the ones that have to really show up now.
Oh,
in
true.
every department.
True enough.
Yeah.
True enough. Oh. Hello, Heather and Sarah, watching in Vegas. And
nice.
You know what I want to see one day? I want to see you in a t-shirt.
What is it with people wanting to change my outfits?
I don't.
I want to see me in a t-shirt.
I just one day want to see you just what, here we are. You're always done up perfectly.
I just did a video in a sweatshirt the other day on my channel.
You did not.
I did yoga and I was like, okay, let me just do the video.
All right. Want to sing with me for a second?
Yeah, okay.
All right. Ozzy Osbourne's Mr. Cowley. Ready? Mr. Cowley. Damn it, I got to restart. Hold on, because I screwed it up. Mr. Cowley. Dun, dun, dun. Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back.
Mr. Cowley loves his spaced out radio. Love it. That's all I got.
Woo!
That's all I got.
If I knew the song, I would have sung along. Sorry.
I was watching my son tonight take his guitar lessons, and he is
nice.
He is getting so good.
Oh, wow. How exciting.
It is. I was watching him today with his teacher, and it's just friggin' awesome.
Oh, that must be so wonderful for you to see that. That's just amazing. Yeah.
It's pretty cool because just 5 months ago when we started guitar lessons, 5-6 months ago, he could barely hit a chord on the strings. And now all of a sudden, he's just dun, 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 and I'm just like, yes, my boy. I had a vision today of my son with hair down to his waist, leather jacket on.
Oh my God.
Tattooed sleeves, and I'm like, that's my boy. That's my boy. Aaron Ben David, welcome to Spaced Out Radio's chat room.
Hello.
And
does he know that that's your vision for him?
I have a weird story about that.
Oh my God, I want to hear that.
How much time do we have? Okay. When I was working with my guru Pascal on my channeling, I actually channeled my son when my partner was pregnant.
Wow, that's so awesome.
And my son told me that for the first 4 years of his life, him and I would not get along.
Wow.
And we did not.
Interesting.
It was the hardest 4 years of my life. But in another question, he had stated that he would also fulfill one of my dreams that I didn't get to do.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So I have very few dreams. I have very few dreams that I wanted to do. And I will say Rockstar is one of them. Hold on, Geraldine. Here we go.
Okay.
I'll finish that at the top.
Yeah.
Halfway point of Spaced Out Radio. We're here already. Show is flying on by. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You. It's her monthly stop by the SOR headquarters to hang out with us and give us all the Zen and Chi we can handle. GeraldineOrozco.com is her website. Geraldine, before we get to our next topic, I want to ask a couple questions from our audience. YJ, who lives about 4 hours south of me in one of the nice areas, I'm in the mountains, he's in one of them nice areas, is asking, how soon until mankind and aliens live openly among each other?
That's such a great question, but it's not a matter of time. Remember that time, it doesn't really exist. We are living simultaneously many different things in this moment right now. And right now we are surrounded by entities, beings, other aspects of ourselves in this moment. So the question is, how soon till mankind opens its eyes so that it can look around it to see its multidimensionality? That's the question. Because we are already living among them. They are here. They are within our DNA. It is encoded within us. We're experiencing them at many times throughout our day. We just need to open our eyes, our intuition, to be able to see that. And, to add to that question, the amount of sightings that I've had this month have been insane in regards to craft, like little specks of orbs and lights in the sky. I think activity has gotten much more active in the past couple months for some reason. How about you guys? I want to hear from the chat if you guys have had any contact or have you seen, anything. But thank you for that question.
I'm dead in the water. But what I'm hearing from my sources too, it's really watched for the phase 3. There are certain people out there who have said, we're in phase 2 of this. Phase 3, which from what I'm hearing is still a couple of months away, or not months, years away, pardon me, is when we start getting into the talk of ETs and contact.
I think so, yeah.
And I think they are waiting for the right sign, and that's kind of where it's going. All right. We're going to get into a fun one here because Eric with a K, and we are his 4th favorite show, says he'll post $100 super chat for a wet t-shirt.
A wet t-shirt?
So
okay.
I happen to have a water bottle here. I'm wondering, if I douse myself with water, will Eric with a K buck up in the YouTube chat room? I'm tempted. I am totally tempted, Geraldine.
Oh my God.
I would do this. Are
you going to do it, Eric?
I would soak myself because he's put it out there. He didn't specify whom the wet t-shirt. Since I'm the one with the water bottle, I'll say it's me. I'm okay with that. I'll have the flash dance moment right here. I'll put on my lasers and fancy lights in here. We'll get her done. But anyways, moving on. Alexander is asking, Geraldine, what are your hobbies? Do you sing? Do you play instruments? I love your paintings.
Oh, thank you. My hobbies are painting. I used to play the violin for 15 years professionally, and I love that, but I stopped that a long time ago. But my hobbies is that little painting back there that you see. That's what I do. I paint. So,
I want to see that.
Oh,
I want that for the studio.
Yeah, you can have it.
I totally want that for the studio here.
It's really beautiful, actually. It's called embodiment, and it has light language encoded in it, by the way.
I can tell.
So I will share that with you. Yeah, so that's what I do.
Awesome. We're going to change topics here. All right. And we're going to get into experiencers versus people who have a quick, fleeting sighting of a UFO. If you want to call it contact or call them a contactee or whatever. In your opinion, what is the difference between the two?
Well, a contactee, the way I define that is more of, it's a vibrational thing, and it's something that's done through perhaps the five senses, but not the physical body, not the actual physical, uh, whole physical. It's usually done through one of the five senses. So, for example, somebody can hear channeled message, or they can be spoken to, or they can have a sighting of a UFO, for example. They have a connection, telepathic connection with that. And that can be a contactee. But an experiencer is someone that experiences in the physical, the like actual presence of being in front of one of these beings, kind of like you, Dave, and also like me, that we were literally taken on board a craft and recall the experience vividly, and have had sometimes physical changes as a result of that. Like, for example, I had my psychic abilities completely opened up as a result of my contact experience. So that's how we can define experiencer and a contactee. And there's many people within the field that kind of, I believe that they kind of, they argue that, I think. Is that true? Would you say that's true, Dave, that that's something that's sometimes not clear necessarily, or is it definitely defined?
In my opinion, there's a huge difference between the experiencer and someone who just happens to see some weird lights up in the sky. It
Mm-hmm.
may affect the person, who sees those lights for the first time, and it may touch them in a way mentally and emotionally that they never expected. But I don't really think that's contact. I think when you're running the gamut as an experiencer, when you are seeing extraterrestrials or seeing any type of phenomena that is and having contact and physical contact with the phenomena, I think that's where the difference lies. Doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter whether it's ghosts or Sasquatch or gnomes or fairies or aliens of any sort. And I think what's happening here, and I'm curious to get your opinion of it, do you
Mm-hmm.
think we are diluting the word experiencer?
Yeah, that's a good question. But I guess it should be defined at some point, But I don't know. I don't know what the UFO community is doing with the word experiencer right now. I haven't seen it used in a way that I saw, and I was like, oh, I don't know, is that true? But yes, I think people do need to be careful with the word and use it, as it should be. But again, it's almost like we need to make a space in the dictionary for this word. It's not something that's out there, whether somebody creates a Wikipedia on it or, something. But I guess it's up to us to define this topic better. Experiencer, what is it? What does it mean? Does it mean actual physical contact? And I think that there has been some work around that, right? In the surveys that have been done, they've talked about the definition of that, wouldn't you say, Dave?
I think they have, but like I was talking to somebody on the phone the other day, and we were talking about experiencers, and I said, I don't think someone who sees a UFO in the sky one time in their life is an experiencer. And this
Well,
and
yeah.
this person disagreed with me. So that's where
Mm,
I kind of got on this topic of
okay.
wanting to discuss it with you.
That's a great, I love that you brought that up. Yeah, because then things do get kind of funky. Here's why. Because we have to remember that we have a lot of suppression of memory that we often forget. And if you're seeing a light or a craft in the sky, that's not just an isolated event. Usually it's linked with other things, either a visitation that night or a visitation earlier before or missing time or something like this. But the majority of the people, they don't know the process of how the experience occurs. So they can't really link these pieces together. And we have to remember that if they have the ability to see that craft in the sky, they more than likely have had contact before. We have to remember that ET contact and experiences like this, it's paradigm shifting, sometimes shattering. People with very deeply rooted belief systems are being shattered by seeing that light in the sky, because they have to wrap their head around the physics, the biology of it, the psychology of it. I mean, everything, the history of it, their religion that played a role in our society. I mean, so many things have to come into question when you begin to consider the possibility that there is life outside of this physical dimension. So that is something that we need to remember, because oftentimes when I work with my clients in hypnotherapy, it starts with the light in the sky, but then when you take them under, they have missing time that they didn't recall. They have experiences that are really them having experiences that are being suppressed, their memories, or they have lifelong experiences that begin to surface. So I actually, when it comes to that, somebody that knows their experience, then they have to apply the name properly, I think. But the ones that are just coming into the field, that haven't done the work in order to understand their experiences, I can imagine them using it incorrectly until they know. So maybe that's something that we can help, the general population begin to understand, that somebody that has dove into those experiences, research themselves and their experiences, can then name themselves one or another. Because there's people that see a light in the sky and then they have nothing else, and what do you call them? Do you call them contactees?
I don't know if you call them a contactee or just a witness.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know.
Yeah. It's
And the big thing for me is, for the last 4 years of ufology, the experiencers have really been pushed to the side. And we have touched on that earlier this year regarding that topic, where we weren't allowed to talk aliens after the To the Stars Academy. We weren't allowed to talk contact. We weren't allowed to talk about experiences, because that was way too far out there for
really
a lot of the newer generation of ufologists, and especially coming from those who really supported heavily the To the Stars Academy. Once again, not slamming the To the Stars Academy, just pointing things out. So when I look at it and I think, okay, the experiencers were kind of pushed to the side. Sure, there was some out there that were trying to bring the motions and the experiences forward, and that's great. However, to those who were studying what the government was saying and the technology behind it, they couldn't care less about the experiencers, much like the experiencers couldn't give two blanks about watching a craft fly at 7,500 miles an hour and bank left at a 90-degree angle. We couldn't less.
Mm-hmm.
We really couldn't. And I think that we just do not understand fully the aspect of the contact experience that leads to what could be lifelong trauma, or a separate a set of years of trauma, or downloads, or understanding, or waking up in the middle of the night and seeing alien grays or mantid beings or reptilians in your bedroom. That's the reality of this topic that we don't want to talk yet. So somebody who's seen a UFO up in the sky, a little dot flying that all of a sudden does a zigzag, to me, that means nothing.
Well, but we need to remember, though, because I wouldn't say that it means nothing, because remember, Dave, that in a crowd of 10 people, sometimes only 3 of those people are able to see that same dot. And the reason for that is that the vibrational frequency of the person has to be at a certain level in order to have that vision, that connection. So it means that either they're doing some kind of spiritual work in order to activate that intuition, or they're lifelong contactees that are just now coming into that awareness. And I think that this is actually something that we are all experiencing as a collective, as the frequencies shift of the planet. We are being open to this kind of vision. The veil is thinning. That's such a cliche word. I don't like using that, but it is true that we are having a broader and more ability to tune into the non-physical. So those people that have had visions, I don't think that it's necessarily an isolated topic. And to that effect, I think that the general population has had contact. I mean, there isn't a single person that I haven't met to this day that hasn't had at least one experience that they question. The light in the sky, a light in a room that they question. They don't have anything else. They just have that one experience. So I think a lot of us have had contact that we're not diving into, that we don't really understand yet. And it has to do with the vibrational frequency. So we need to remember it's really complex. It's not so simple, not so black and white also.
Okay, so define, in your opinion, what an experiencer is. Is it seeing aliens? Is it having multiple experiences, whether it's seeing extraterrestrials or having these downloads or, missing time or marks on your body? Is it seeing just a blip in the sky then?
I think an experiencer is someone that has seen life, some life form, and they had either interacted with that life form or they have experienced the presence of that life form. That's what I think an experiencer is. And whether they're interacting with that intelligence, if it's a light in the sky and they were interacting with it, because a lot of people see the light in the sky and they get images in their mind, they get communications, they get stuff, downloads, or events and dreams later on that night. That is an experiencer. Even though they cannot remember in detail everything that happened, something affected the conscious experience of that person's life. From that point, the beginning point of that dot in the sky. And I think that's an experiencer. What their level of awareness of themselves and what their experience is defines how much of an experiencer they are. But that's it, because it's up to them whether they want to dive deep in. And remember that these experiences are it's a very personal thing. It's very much for ourselves more than anything else. We are connecting to aspects of ourselves in these realms. So it's a profound, life-changing thing that happens to people when they're ready for that.
Okay. Do you think then that those who are experiencers are experiencing all of the same type of happenings?
No.
One way or another?
There seems to be, based on research, based on working with people, based on listening, basing on my own experiences, there seems to be a certain way that these things are carried out. And whether it's the phase of their life that they're in, or, what they're experiencing, there seems to be a process. And, when, for example, they have a light in the sky or something, later on, a lot of people experience missing time. A lot of people have dreams that night. And we cannot discount dreams, because the dream realm is when we are most active. And even though we might be experiencing things in that realm, thinking that it's a dream, it could very well be an out-of-body experience or a physical abduction or experience with these contactees. with interdimensional beings. So it's a very complex topic, but there are parallels in how people are taken, parallels in how people, what they're seeing, who they're connecting with, how they're communicating, the technology that they see in that environment, the after effects, how they feel the next day. We can look at Preston Dennett's work, which I just recently, spoke to about the healing. What's that?
He's amazing.
He's wonderful. Yeah, he talks about the healing result of contact. So there's hundreds of cases where people are becoming healed from this contact. So obviously there is something here that is a definite of some sort, some parameters that we can kind of look to when we speak to experiencers to help define what they're going through,
So for those who are claiming that because they saw a blip in the sky, which could very well be a satellite, we don't know. How do you kind of break it to them gently that you're not an experiencer?
Well, Dave, here's the thing. The way that I have based on my research of holographic DNA, of the origins of life on this planet, I don't think anybody is not an experiencer. I think that we are a hybridized race. I think that we have been genetically modified, and I think that within our genetic code is encoded many different bloodlines from these interdimensional beings. I think that we are we are creating our experiences, and we are interacting with this intelligence constantly. And it's only a matter of time of the human to wake up and activate that DNA in order to become aware of their connections, who they are, what they are, how they play a role in their everyday life. So in my opinion, I think more people need to acknowledge that little blip in the sky, whatever it is, the little ghost that they thought they felt, that feeling that they felt in that room, because we need to open ourselves up to the multidimensionality that is around us, because there's an entire universe of things that are occurring around us, and this is where we evolve. We go from kind of like Stone Age, where we're at right now, into the evolution of mankind in technology, in the biology of the human body, well-being, advancement, and activation. Many things are stemming from this one little understanding.
We have 2 minutes to go here before our break at the top of the hour with Geraldine Orozco on the Spiritual You. I just hope that this doesn't get diluted any more than what it is, because experiencers, in my opinion, are always the punching bag of the UFO community. They really are.
And you know what? And that's actually the most important question in my opinion. Why in the UFO community they don't want to talk about experiencers? I think that's a more important question. And one that I would love to have an answer.
Well, let's go there. We got 90 seconds.
Okay.
Why do you think it is that way?
Well, why is it threatening? Does it threaten? Because it just takes things into a whole different direction. Not only does ufology, the UFO aspect, put into question science, religion, and everything else, but now if you're talking about contact, you have to get deep into the genetics of mankind, the hybridization program, our origins, hybridized bloodlines. I mean, so many things that are way deeper that I think that play a role in the way that our human race is directed right now, in the way that we're experiencing life. And I'll go into that in a little bit, which is a really important topic. It has to do with systems of mind control manipulation of the masses for a very long time, So I don't know. We can dive into that a little bit more.
Well, we got 30 minutes left with Geraldine Orozco here on Spaced Out Radio, and we're going to continue the talk of experiencers. We'll take some audience questions in the final half hour, and when we get to the bottom of hour number 3, we're going to join up with Vancouver and Big Bad Shane and The Shift, and we're going to talk a little UFO action. We may even get into some of this, I'm going to call it BS, Mercury retrograde. We're going to get into it. I know all of you are into it. Old Davey is not. I may put my tinfoil hat on for that one. But the good part about it is we still got another 30 minutes. with the lovely and talented Geraldine Orozco. GeraldineOrozco.com is her website. Stick around. Spaced Out Radio continues with the third and final hour next. You know, I'm not going to lie. I think this has been one of our best shows in a long, long time.
Wow, great topic. I love it.
We always have good shows. That's the beautiful part of the consistency with you on here. We always have a great show, but this one just seems to be there's a different, vibrant energy about tonight.
Nice. I love that. So great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Magnus. Thank you, Magnus.
Yes, Big Bad Magnus. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you don't believe in Mercury retrograde, Dave? That's hilarious. I love it.
No, I don't. No.
Okay. Because it's been messing with me pretty hard this week, by the way. But yeah, well, I don't know.
I will say this, that I believe in a lot of woo, Geraldine. I believe in a lot of woo. Okay. But I can't just put my teeth on Mercury retrograde. It literally is, to me, it's like somebody needed to make up some bullshit and they just, Mercury retrograde. I mean, that's
you know, it's really interesting. I just saw this documentary that how the universal energies shift computers, and they can literally erase information off your hard drive, your computers, just because of the solar flares, just because of how energy moves in the universe. I mean, when I saw this, it literally looks like sci-fi, but apparently it affected the election. They're saying that it affected the election, right? That in the election, because of this glitch on that one moment, hundreds of votes were disappearing from the count, and they didn't understand what happened, right? So they're blaming this on this solar glitch that happened, but the science behind that is incredible. I mean, honestly. So if that can happen, I don't know. I think we are dealing with, and that's the scientific community, by the way.
Hey, whatever it is, you know, I believe a lot of woo, man. I believe a lot of woo. All right. And trust me, I've experienced a lot of woo.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole I've been cursed. I've blanked out in time. You know, or skipped time. That was kind of weird when that happened.
Yeah.
Same intersection. One's going west and one's going east at a red light. I watched the light turn green, and when I put my foot on the gas pedal after going green, I got halfway through the intersection and horns were honking at me because the light was red.
Oh my gosh, really? Wow, that's a dangerous experience to have.
Well, only at that one intersection it happened.
Wow.
Only at that one intersection. It happened to me going to my radio station, and then a few months later, coming back from my radio station.
That is so weird. When did this happen? Recently?
No, this was way back, like 2005, 2006.
Wow. Well, there you go.
Before I was in on that. Oh, by the way, there is a sourpuss out there saying that because Dirty Filth put out a cartoon about me seeing Dogman, that apparently I'm now making claims that I've seen Dogman. For the record, I have not seen Dogman. I have not seen a Dogman. I don't want to see a Dogman, even though it'd be really cool and freaky at the same time. But I'm too freaked out to see a Dogman. Okay, so don't believe everything you hear on other podcasts or Twitter. There's a couple people out there who can't help but try and make fun of all my experiences, saying that I'm making them up.
Oh,
Because I do
that's not very
that
nice.
for ratings.
Oh,
Apparently.
well, that's definitely not true.
No. Hi, Enchantress. How are you? Oh, it's Becky S. from Facebook. Well, look at gorgeous Becky S. there from Facebook. The Enchantress. I like that name.
Hey, yeah, that's an awesome name. I guess Halloween is coming up. I always forget about that, but can you believe we're already in October? I mean,
know.
I can't
Yeah.
even believe it.
Guess what I'm being for Halloween?
What are you going to be?
I'm being Geraldine Orozco.
I want to see that.
Uh-huh.
I want to see that.
I'm being Geraldine Orozco.
Oh boy, I'm a little scared. What are you going to do? Are you going to be nice?
Of course I am. No,
What are you going to do?
I don't know yet. I might be. There's this guy who kicks me out of my studio all the time. He's a lucha libre named El Ovni Volador.
Wow.
Which translated into English says the flying UFO.
The flying UFO. Oh, that's right. The volador. Right.
That's the extent of my Spanish.
Nice.
El Ovni Volador. All right, and we're on in like 10 seconds. But that's who I may be for Halloween.
Nice. All right. Cool.
Hold on, 3 seconds. Get your horns up, people. Let's do it.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Jokos. Jokos is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce Geraldine Orozco. She is the owner of Bay Area Meditation in San Francisco, California. Great friend and contributor to this show monthly as we bring her back in for The Spiritual You. And we are talking about the differences between experiencers and those who have had, a sighting of a UFO or a ghost or a Bigfoot or whatever it may be in the background, digging deep, trying to figure out if they are an experiencer or not. Now, right before the break, Geraldine, we were talking about how, the experiencers aren't even really studied by many of the top ufologists in this. It always seems to be about the technology. It always seems to be about the government cover-up and the conspiracy behind it. What role going forward here do you see experiencers playing in ufology? Because eventually it's going to come back to this, but we don't have that power story anymore of Betty and Barney Hill or Calvin Parker or Chris Bledsoe or Travis Walton.
And this is why I love that a lot of shows are now focusing on the experiencer, because that wasn't the case so much, right? But I think that the reason why it's not mostly talked about is because they say that they are incapable of having hard proof, tangible proof. And with ufology. Supposedly they have a video, or they have some documents from the government that are suppressed, or their credible source, which they believe is somebody that was in the military or somebody in some organization that is respectable, that has a sound mind, and that will not be able to make up any of those things. So, and that's something that, is unfortunate about our community, is that there seems to be a deep separation between that. They want only the credible sources to come from a very small list of people and individuals. And that's unfortunate, because we have a large population of experiencers that have incredible experiences that could help us understand better the technology that is being leaked and that we're looking at from these different perspectives. So my hope is that going forward, in ufology, we put more focus on the experiencer. We listen. We begin to study, to research, to understand the psychology, the biological aspect of it, because it really helps us understand the mechanics of co-creation. And in my opinion, my focus is to empower the human race with tools to help evolve themselves, to bring themselves into their highest expression. It's not so much about getting stuck on distractions. It's not so much about the wars between ET races of any kind. It's about the empowerment of the human creation and what they're capable of seeing when they have interdimensional contact, how it can change their lives, how they can begin to use their intuition. There are so many powerful things that we need to understand, that I think ET contact is the key to moving our human race forward, because we're going to stop being afraid of our systems collapsing, religion kind of having to change and shift, education, history having to change and shift. All of those things, we're still in the very baby steps of the beginning of profound changes in all those areas, but they have to happen. And my hope is that in the next couple years, that we create a strong foundation of education and support for experiencers, so that we can somehow bring light to these very difficult topics in which all of the systems of our reality are becoming questioned and turned upside down with this one topic of an experiencer. So there's so much to talk about. I mean, the experiencer in itself is a complexity. There's many complex aspects to it.
Okay, I'm going to use this word for the second time tonight. Do you think, though, that moving forward, whether it's Demi Lovato being the next one who is of the popularity for the experience, or someone else, do you think we're going to get to that point now where the topic of experiencer becomes diluted? Because I don't see a lot of Geraldine Orozco's or Samantha Mowett's or Chris Bledsoe's out there being very public about it.
Well, hey, and that's why, it's up to us to do the work. That's why we, if we want to talk about it that way. I mean, it, it's free will. Whoever is willing to come out to the public and talk about it can do it, But we also have to keep in mind what the end goal is. And hopefully we focus on the betterment of the collective. Not the fear, not the helplessness, not making people feel victimized by these kinds of ideas that extraterrestrials are, manipulating, controlling, harming in some way. We need to change the narrative a little bit, because unfortunately, it's being pushed that these are incredibly negative experiences and hurtful. And I'm also not somebody that is in fantasies thinking that these are incredibly positive experiences, no negativity. We need to find middle ground and just understand how to navigate interdimensional contact, period. Whatever it is, ghosts, beings, Bigfoot, whatever it is, our journey here collectively is to learn how to feel comfortable and navigate those unknown experiencers. And I hope that collectively we can unite to make that happen, to put that message across, because because then it brings too much confusion, too much fear, too much separation, and that's the opposite of what we should be doing right now.
But the reality is, outside of anecdotal evidence and eyewitness testimony, we don't have a lot of proof. I can sit here and tell you that I am implanted in the back of my head. Nobody can see it. You can't see the scar. My hair is too beautiful to even part back there. You know, you have to take me at my word. And I can see where the argument against all of this from many people within the community, they're done with the story. They don't want the story anymore. They want those hard facts. So the question is it too late to retry and reblend the experiencer with the factual information that we do have, much like you would try and do with a crime scene?
Yeah, I don't. I think it's not too late at all. But the question is, why is there so much resistance to do that? Because a lot of times, in our community, they specifically don't want to touch that subject. And that's let's see, what should we call it? That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate for the ufology community, and they are limiting an entire arena. They're limiting an entire arena to come on to the platform and have this conversation. So I don't know. I mean, you've been in the field longer than I. I mean, I've only been in the field about 6 years, but you've been here longer than me. So, I'll throw that question. I mean, back at you. Historically, why do you feel that this has happened in the community? With your experience.
I think people want proof. I think that now that the government is opened up and saying that there is something to this phenomena, and they are putting pressure on the United States military and the alphabet agencies to release what they have, I think people want the proof. They don't want the sci-fi stories anymore. They don't want to know about more people coming out saying they got anal probed. They don't want more people coming out and saying that they're part of a hybridization or MK Ultra type program, because none of that in their eyes has been provable. The other issue that we have, and it doesn't matter whether it's UFOs, paranormal, or cryptid world, is we're not conducting a lot of science. We're conducting a plethora of opinion. And when you're conducting opinion, you are only going to side with those who take your side. You are not trying to find the full evidence to the story. And you're only investigating a half, a third, or a quarter of what is truly going on with the phenomena. And that is another big issue that I see out there.
Yeah. But I mean, what qualifies as proof? I mean, in currently, we are basing the words of a military personnel, and we completely believe what that person says. I mean, we don't even question it. We just say, yes, he experienced it. He's a credible source. Here is some footage on what he experienced. Let's say, the Tic Tac, whatever. And, whatever he says, it happened. But then when we pull outside of those credible department sources that we're looking at, we don't give them the same credibility, even if they have a picture, even if they have a scar on their body, even if they have something going on in their physical body. I mean, we need to start respecting that as proof, because people's lives have changed from one day to the other. I mean, my life, for example, changed completely from one day to the other because of contact. I mean, and there's a lot of people that have that happen to them. Their entire paradigms change. So why isn't that proof enough? And so we need to begin to change that. I mean, it's just like if we're only going to have a small list of parameters for things, we're completely ignoring the greater mass. And other countries, for example, South America, Europe, I mean, they are also having incredible reports of experiences all around the world. I think that somehow we should unite with some of these other countries, sharing our experiences, sharing our research, our discoveries, and beginning to look at the parallels that we're finding here. This is not just the US or a small group of people. I mean, this is something that's happening to the collective at large. So we need to bring attention to that, and have those discussions. Also, I mean, in the ufology field, it's been kind of interesting how they only want the conferences to discuss certain topics,
Oh yeah.
and so that's also a problem. And the question is, why is that happening? Who is in charge of these conferences in which these things are happening, and what is the purpose of that? Just like these shows that are coming out, I always question this so that we can begin to understand what's happening, right?
I have a good example of that. When I went and spoke in Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and this is nothing against the panel. They had Paul Hellyer, Sid Goldberg, Richard Dolan, and there was one, Randy Kramer, up on stage.
Yeah.
And the topic was UFOs in the media. Why is the media not covering this? Absolutely zero of those people had any media experience, any journalism experience. And here I was sitting there as a speaker at this event, not invited onto the one panel that I could actually go on. All right. I had to leave the room. The answers were horrific. Everything
Wow.
from the media
Interesting.
everything from the media is bought, to that there are government officials in every newsroom to control what is allowed to go out on the air, which is simply not true. All right. I mean, I could hear the people at Saga 960 right now laughing at this when they hear this. Hi, Jody. How are you? Thank you for tuning us in tonight, the owner of the station. But nonetheless,
Nice.
I could see people, it's a joke because we put people in positions and ask them questions that they have no knowledge about. And we do that continually in the field of ufology. So when you have someone who doesn't have a scientific background, but has been a UFO researcher for a number of years, but let's say they've worked more on the government conspiratorial side of everything, they're not going to have the qualifications to sit there and talk about somebody who is getting abducted on a weekly basis or waking up every 3 nights to grays, paralyzing them in their bedroom, which we know is happening. And you can't, when you have people talking out of line as, I hate using this word, but as an expert, that's where the entire message is flawed.
Mm-hmm. Well, what defines an expert is my question. What defines an expert?
I only use the word expert for the sake of it sounded good in the sentence. Okay.
Okay.
But I mean, that's like asking somebody who the guy who fills up my vehicle every morning, or when I need to fill up gas, if I'm asking him how to fix the wiring on one of my lights that I have wires dangling around in my house, because I need some electrical assistance. I mean,
Yeah.
you just don't do that. You
Yeah.
don't go to a car dealership for a haircut.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And also, a lot of people that are experts, they have never had experiences. Also,
And you hit the nail on the head. How many people do we have to hear who have never, even some of them who have never even seen a UFO? God bless them for believing in the topic and getting their feet wet in the topic. But how many people have never seen a UFO are talking about what experiencers are going through? You can't feel that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't feel that. It's like somebody who tries to argue that soccer is a sport. You just can't do that, right? It's impossible.
Dave.
No, it's impossible.
Well, yeah. It's interesting. I guess we'll see. But we have to stop feeling victimized and take things maybe in our own hands. And you have done incredible work and where you have this platform. So the wonderful thing is that you reach thousands of people around the world and you can help inform on that level. So thank you, Dave. That's important work.
I appreciate that. I totally appreciate that. And as we got about 5 minutes to go here,
Oh, yeah.
what's your advice to experiencers out there who are struggling of whether or not to come out publicly to talk about what's happened to them?
Mhm. Well, I think that, first of all, what is your purpose for coming out public? Are you looking for connection, validation, acknowledgement? Or is it a heavy thing that you're suppressing, not being able to speak your truth? There are many support groups that you can join. Please join a support group and connect with others. Listen to other people's stories, because that will help give you strength in when you are ready to speak to other people that are not part of the community. And you will kind of know how to navigate that conversation a little better. Because sometimes what happens is we come out, we talk about it, and people are not ready for that conversation. And so we become embarrassed, and we sometimes close up even more. And we definitely don't want that to happen. So before you step out, try to connect with support groups in which you can share calmly, or connect with one of us, that are in the field, and share your experience. Let's talk about it. Let's see what's going on. And then it'll help you flow a little bit better. It will help you relieve from that suppression, because it's a lot to carry, and you don't need to carry it inside you. It's really important that you share that, yeah.
No,
And trust yourself, which is really, really important.
how does somebody know where to reach out to somebody like you, or a Kathleen Martin, or a Samantha Mowat, or a Lorian Fenton?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, on my website, I do have a support group that I do monthly. What I love to do is have other contactee groups. I also have Misha Johnston's group on there. I have what's her name in San Diego? I forget her
Barbara
name.
Lamb?
Barbara Lamb also, and there's another lady, and also Lori McDonald. And if anybody else, any other experiencers, or like Samantha Moa, if they want to put their information on my website and want to get contacted, give me your information so I can put you. We need to network. We need to unite in the community so that we can help each other and connect and open the network so that people. Also, Opus, which I'm a part of, is a wonderful organization, opusnetwork.com, that you can go and find support and resources for contactees as well. So there are many, many resources that you can find out. And my website's hybridmother.com. You can check that out for many of these researchers as well.
The emotional side of the experience is what haunts a lot of people.
Exactly.
It's the thought of not being believed. It's the thought of not being able to function properly afterwards. I mean, these are legitimate problems. I went through them. Maybe you did as well.
Yes.
How do you through those support systems? As we got about 2 minutes, how do you calm the nerves of that first time person coming out and saying, "I think I've been taken"?
It's acknowledgement. When you hear other people have similar experiences to you, it's as if a weight is lifted, because you realize, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm not making this up. This actually, you can acknowledge yourself. And I understand if you don't have a strong support system in your life, it's very important to find that strong support system so you know that you're not alone, and that you can safely be able to dive deep into this topic. Because if you're doubting yourself, you're not going to want to dive into the topic. And it's important that you do. It's important that you research, that you understand yourself, that you take time to meditate and connect with these experiences and understand them better. So, yeah, by all means, please do reach out if you are looking for that support group. I have it once a month.
What if through meditation you don't like what you see?
Right. And that's something and this is why I'm telling you that the focus that we should do collectively is to prepare us for the unknown, whatever it is. If it's a ghost, if it's a ET, if it's whatever it is, this is what we're here as humans in this three-dimensional plane to experience and to become comfortable with: constant life, death cycles, difficult situations, overcoming them, transcending them. That's what we're here as souls to do. So this is just one of these experiences that we're here to kind of look at collectively.
Geraldine, it has been just a wonderful show with you tonight on this month's edition of The Spiritual You. You are literally one of the best people and most trusted people in my world when it comes to everything UFOs, extraterrestrials, spirituality, consciousness. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And it's such a pleasure and an honor to continue to have you with our relationship with Spaced Out Radios. We're coming on, I believe, 5 years that you've been on this show. 5 years.
Incredible. Thank you, Dave,
Have a
for
great
your support and your love. It has been an honor to be here with you, Dave. Thank you. Love you so much. Thank you.
Love you too, my friend. Coming up next, we're going to hook up with Vancouver and join Shane in the shift. We're going to get a beard update on Shane as well. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this. Give me 1 second, Vancouver. Geraldine Orozco, everyone. Geraldine Orozco.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Everyone in the chat, love you. Love you so much. All right, Davey.
When's a good time to give you a ring?
This weekend. Can you call me this weekend?
Yeah.
Okay. Anytime.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, let's find out who's Vancouvering. Ryan, are you there? Well, they got us on hold. Let's see what they're doing.
I can't give you a number to call in here because our phones are down right now, so I'm calling you from a backup phone.
Oh, okay.
Just to let you know that we'll be ready for 36.
Yeah.
But the only way to get you on is to have us contact you.
Okay, I can hold. Okay, so you're going to call me from a different number or this number?
We're going to call from a different number. It's going to be this number.
Do you want to just hold on this one then?
I could do that, sure.
Okay. Let's do it.
Okay.
How's Shane's mustache and beard?
Thick and luscious.
Beautiful. Is he growing it out again? This important shit here.
It looks like it to me.
Yes. Yes. Me too. Okay, buddy. I'm just going to put you down here, and we'll be ready to go at 36.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. It's Vancouver, everybody. Vancouver. Going right across Canada. Isn't Geraldine amazing? Seriously. She is just amazing. She's so brilliant. So blessed. You guys, you know, Geraldine is one of those people where literally we have no idea how blessed we are to have her on this show monthly. And she keeps coming back because she absolutely loves everything that we do. Everything that we do. So I absolutely love it. All right. If you aren't following us on Twitter, please do so at Spaced Out Radio. My personal handle is at Dave Scott SOR. The same as on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. For the show, it's at Spaced Out Radio Show. Really trying to focus on building some of our numbers there, if you don't mind. And we'd really appreciate the follows. And so we appreciate that. Thank you. I want to say there's so many of you guys who donated to the super chat tonight. Thank you to Sig Sauer, to Horror Realm, Chad Smith, Magnus, Walker Dale, Horror Realm again, Ibarata in Singapore, Cat Chaser, Spooky, and it continues. Cedric, Lone Wanderer, Kevin, Dirt Road, Ozzy Ange, Carlito, Brock, Michael, Rooted in Gorgeous Sacredness, Dirt Road again, Smithy ×2, and Nicola. Thank you so much for your love and support of this show. Really does mean a lot to what we do. on a nightly basis here on Spaced Out Radio. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Really do appreciate that. If you haven't done any shopping yet and you're wanting to support this show, head to our website, spacedoutradio.com. Head over to the shop section. We got great t-shirts. It's not just t-shirts. We have hoodies, hats, stickers, everything in there. You just pick the logo and you go down, and if you scroll down after you pick the t-shirt with the logo that you like, you scroll on down and you will actually see all the other products that you can get on there. We got a really cool thing to do, or for you to check out there. A lot of cool logos, and it's a great way to support what we do on this show as well. And of course, we are big time fans of all the veterans out there who listen to this show on a nightly basis. You always have a safe home with us on Spaced Out Radio. So thank you so much for your service and doing your job to protect all of us who are incapable of serving or never had the opportunity. And we really do appreciate and love you. And all our regulars who have tuned in tonight, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. You guys are just make it so much fun. Here we go, everyone. Final half. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including Rocking Out to Bumblefoot, checking out our swag, and reading up on Shirky Poo's Newswire. It is that time once again where we are going to head to Vancouver. Big Bad Shane in the hot seat, going right across Canada to talk some UFOs on the shift. Shane, how you doing, man? I wonder if they've thrown to us. We are just waiting. I know they were having phone difficulties there, and we are waiting for them to kick on back to us here. And while we're waiting, let's see what's going to happen here. They are having phone difficulties in getting us on the air with Shane and the shift. It happens. This is the beauty of live radio right now. I don't know if they can hear us, but we sure cannot hear them.
99 gig. So it has been a bit of a dicey technical kind of.
There we go. We got him.
Stuff behind the scenes right now to get that connection and get it plugged in. Dave Scott, do we have you?
We got you. Can you hear us?
Oh, there we go, buddy. We got you. We're having all kinds of trouble, tech trouble here.
It happens,
on the
man.
program. Facebook yesterday. I think we've caught a bit of the Facebookitis. Something broke.
Maybe, you know what? I had audio issues on my show yesterday, man. Maybe it's some of that Mercury retrograde crap that's out there.
You know what? I like I like these segments that you've been doing about the astrological and the hippy dippy with that stuff. I've been following them on your Twitter because I love these guests, and I got to tell you, Dave. But I mean, we share an awful lot in our private conversations. I really appreciate sort of the depth that you're taking in some of these conversations with this sort of astrophysical, astrological guests you've been putting on. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, I'm going to give credit because that is our weekend host on our YouTube and Twitch channel, Lynn Wallington. She is the brains behind all of that. I just kind of tag along on a leash like a lost puppy with it. But, you know, like one of the things that we're supposed to be in right now is this Mercury retrograde thing. Now, I don't know if I'm a big believer in this. Okay. It just doesn't suit my fancy a little bit. So what is Mercury retrograde?
I find that funny coming from you, brother.
I know. I'll talk Bigfoot all night long. I'll talk aliens, ghosts, fairies, gnomes. But Mercury retrograde, I don't know. But apparently it happens 3 times a year between the months of January, February, June and July, September and October, where basically all hell breaks loose and screws everything up from technology to our lives. It's also a time for apparently channeling mental energy inward, reflecting, reassessing, and rethinking why we got into the creation of radio. Now, I don't know how that all works out for us, but a lot of people who are especially more spiritually inclined than yours truly and you, they tend to believe that Mercury retrograde is actually something that people need to prepare for. And it's something that can affect everything. It's kind of like when we hear the stories of, people going a little haywire on a full moon. This is what I'm equating it to. I could be completely wrong, but I mean, hey, you wanted to get hippity dippity, so that's what we are doing.
I like the hippity dippity. I do. I don't know if I subscribe to it, but I very much appreciate the conversations around it. I guess I just like to write it off. It's kind of the way that I look at the aliens and the UFOs, right? Is that I don't really have evidence that says it's not happening. And there are a bunch of people around me that truly study and believe it. Therefore, why should I shoot it down? I don't have to celebrate it, when it comes to the moon and the alignment of the whatevers. But I can appreciate it. And I have my buddy Paul O'Neill. He's been a radio guy in Calgary and Edmonton forever. Paulie today was talking about, I'm just new to this, but I'm not sleeping. My hippy dippy friends tell me it's the Mercury retrograde and that it affects people. And then if you search Mercury retrograde on any of the socials, you're going to find a long list of tweets and conversations about people that are talking about it. I think it's a time to, recreate yourself newly and do your meditation and all those things.
Yeah, and a lot of people abide by it, especially those who are very in tune with their own personal spiritual growth, whether it's connecting with their source or the universe, or reading everything from tarot cards to tea leaves and every type of esoteric reading that there is. And some people abide by it. They feel better over it. They prepare for it. Like some people will take holidays during Mercury retrograde, so that way they don't have bad times at work or accidentally, get hurt or fired or quit their job or have temper tantrums or hang up the phone or forget to put their mute button on the radio microphone. So a lot of people are out there, they're paying attention to it. How much can you actually do it? I really don't know. Like I said, when it comes to Mercury retrograde, I'm not a firm believer in it, but I can say this, all right? Sometimes weird things happen at weird times. And a lot of those times, those weird things happen at Mercury retrograde. Example, yesterday, my board that I run my audio through, like we all have an audio board, it kept on echoing back. Couldn't cure it yesterday. I run my show today. My board is working perfectly. So I think it just did it to piss me off, saying, there's Mercury retrograde for you, Dave. Now take that one and shove it up your nose.
Your console is out to get you.
Absolutely.
I love it. All right. I find it really fantastic that you study all these wild things and that Mercury retrograde is sort of your line in the sand of all of it. I love that, though. That's the best part about Spaced Out Radio, joining us here on the shift. Okay, you talk often about stories that you share in Canada. Who is running the UFO show, the UFO show? And let's start by asking you this question for people who haven't heard this segment before or in a long time. What is a ufologist? Let's start there, and then we'll introduce the Canadian from the article that you shared.
All right. A ufologist is somebody who studies the field of UFOs, or now the fancy term, unidentified aerial phenomena. What is happening? Where are the sightings happening? What kind of sightings are happening? How often is it happening? And they are taking the data from that, and they are putting it into a lot of compartmentalization on trying to find any sort of data pattern to see what is happening with these strange anomalies that are happening in the sky. And so that would probably, I mean, there's so many different definitions to it. I mean, it could be somebody who's chasing down black triangle craft. It could be somebody who is chasing down government records for UFO research. What is the government not talking about us? There's a lot of different avenues with a ufologist. It is a very blanketed term.
Okay. In Canada, one of the pieces that you've been digging into and working on is trying to find out, where does the info go? The article that you shared with me doesn't go to anybody. I don't want to not call them special because, I don't want someone to feel like they're not important, but it's not as, military or high level of a person or career that you might think of. Where do we go?
Well, apparently the Canadian military used to have a UFO desk, and they allegedly shut down that UFO desk and were doing nothing with the files. So this gentleman who is named Chris Rutkowski out of Winnipeg, Manitoba, very smart man, very detail-oriented man. He works for the University of Manitoba, where eventually all of his files were going, used to write sci-fi books. And for some reason, he somehow just threw it out there to the Canadian government and the Canadian Department of National Defense and said, hey, if you're not doing anything with those UFO files, send them to me. I want to look them over. So about 25 years ago, the Department of National Defense started sending Rutkowski all of these low-level UFO reports. Nothing top secret. He does not have security clearance or anything like that. And he has done nothing wrong. Zero. All he has done is compile Canada's research every year into where the UFO sightings are happening. But here's where it gets interesting, and we really have to give credit to a gentleman and a journalist, great journalist named Daniel Otis out of Toronto, who writes for Vice magazine. And Daniel figured out something very strange, that a lot of the reports that Chris Rutkowski are getting are reports that are being handed to him, but no one else. So there are a bunch of people in Canada, from a gentleman named Grant Cameron or Ryan Stacey or a number of others in Canada, who have been looking into UFOs, including members of the government, who have put through Freedom of Information Act requests to the Department of National Defense and have got declined on their request for UFO reports. Now, when you file a Freedom of Information Act request, it costs you money. And when you get declined, you do not get your money back. Yet Mr. Rutkowski is getting the reports. So the big question that many of us have right now is, why is Chris Rutkowski getting the reports handed to him on a silver platter by the Department of National Defense, but when someone else in the field of ufology or even working within the Canadian government asks for some FOIA files on UFOs, the requests are sometimes denied? It does not make sense. And this is a real trouble because for many of us, like you stated, we have been trying to figure out, what does Canada know and what is Canada doing with their UFO reports? We know we're not going to get anything top secret. Those things are going straight to NORAD and into the hands of the American government and a group called the Five Eyes, which is the United Kingdom, New Zealand, Australia, the United States, and Canada. And that's where the reports, the big-time reports, are going. But even with some of the smaller reports, the Canadian military, along with the FOIA requests and other departments, are denying requests for those reports. Yet some of those reports all end up on the desk of Chris Rutkowski. So there's a lot of people wondering, why is Rutkowski getting them when every other Canadian out there who wants to file a FOIA request, and anybody can at any time, is being denied? It does not make sense, and it's ruffled a few feathers as we try to break open this topic in Canada.
Has this Chris guy published any of it? I mean, is he sharing it? Is it, what's happening?
Every year he publishes the UFO report where he goes province to province to detail how many sightings went across Canada this year, where are the hot spots. Usually the hot spots are in British Columbia, near Vancouver and the Lower Mainland, in and around Toronto, and in and around Montreal and Quebec City. And that is mainly the reason why, if you look at a map, obviously, those are the most populous areas of Canada. But what he isn't doing is writing sci-fi books on these topics. He may be using them for information, but he's not using the information for that. And he's doing nothing wrong. Once again, Chris Rutkowski does amazing work in providing the UFO files annually for the mainstream media to check out. Usually it ends up in the Globe and Mail or the National Post. But the big thing is, and the big argument is, why is nobody else allowed to do it? And I shouldn't say that, Shane. People are allowed to do it, but the question is, why aren't they getting the information for it? So that's like somebody in Ottawa handing you fresh papers right off the Prime Minister's desk, but not giving it to any other media outlet. As a media person, you would love it because you're the guy. You're the person who gets it. You're going to break the story. But when other people are asking for it, they're getting denied. And that's what's upsetting to a lot of people in the UFO field. And like I said, I talked to one person who works in Ottawa, who is one of my sources on this topic. And this person literally stated to me that he was right upset because a few of the files that he specifically requested for his boss, who is an MP, was denied by this DND. And yet all he had to do was call up Chris Rutkowski to see if he could get him. So in the end, why is Chris Rutkowski being the man where everybody's got to go to when the government could just send everybody in Canada the report or put it on a website,
a mailing list?
Put it on a website or a mailing list where anybody can grab the information. It doesn't make sense.
I mean, well, Chris, so this guy, as you said, described Chris, he went and basically asked for the ability to do this. They gave it to him. Has anyone just gone and just asked for it? Which I would like to clarify, by the way. If I got inside scoop from the Prime Minister's desk, paper from his desk, let's be honest, it would probably just be a picture of the Prime Minister. But I felt like that was needed to be said.
Or he's surfing on important days.
Just go ask? Yeah, right. Do you just go ask the guy and say, do you want to CC me now? Or is it there's just no red tape trail to follow?
Well, the big thing with Chris Rutkowski is he'll tell you he's not a UFO guy. He loves the subject of UFOs, but he rarely does interviews. He doesn't like the state of ufology, tries to stay away from it as much as he can. He just loves the statistics of it all, which is great. We need that. We absolutely need that. Everybody has their niche and their role in ufology, and that is great. Okay, he compiles very sound numbers, and that's what we want to see. But this isn't on the fault of Rutkowski. This is on the fault of everybody from NAV Canada to the Department of National Defense. And as the person I talked to in Ottawa wants to know, they feel that whoever the new Minister of National Defense is going to be needs to answer this question. And this may be the subject that actually blows this story open, finally, in Ottawa, where it could come out in the House of Commons and say, could you please explain why Mr. Rutkowski, who is a UFO statistician, is getting all of these reports while other Canadians, including people in this party or parties, are being denied requests? Please explain that. And that's a question that
there's a lot of questions to be asked.
Yes,
that's for sure. And love to see those stats. I would like to see like a hot heat map of all the little dots. I mean, that would be, if you look at a statistician versus somebody who might be a little bit more website program, sort of educated or hobbyist, to it'd be nice to see like a Google map with hotspots of where people have seen these things. So it does make you start to think. That's really cool stuff. Dave Scott, it's great to hear your voice, brother.
Always,
Thank
brother.
you so much for joining us here on the shift. And may the Mercury retrograde bring you peace and all the namastes that you need in your life.
Thank you for always bringing us across Canada talking UFOs, my friend. You take care. All right. Let's get to the news, everyone. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the very interesting out of Nevada. Well, on Mystery Wire, apparently there is a new secret base that has been found out. Besides Area 51, which has been immortalized in books, movies, and TV reports, apparently there's a sister facility in the Nevada desert called Area 52, which is home to its own dark secrets. Over the decades, the sprawling facility in Nevada desert has been bombed, blasted, poisoned, and nuked for the benefit of national security programs and secret technology. People who live near the base around Tonopah have been seeing secret planes fly over their heads for decades, but they tend to keep the sightings to themselves. Nearby Area 52 is the town of Tonopah. Residents like Jose Ramirez would see dozens of contrails from the base every day, most likely the transport planes carrying employees from a private terminal in Las Vegas. These flights are known as the Janet flights. Well, in 2007, in an interview, Ramirez said, when I first got here, they were working on an airplane that would go up into space and come back down and land for NASA. Ramirez said he's also had a couple of family members employed at Area 52, and he knows not to ask them about what they do there. Unlike the better-known Area 51, Area 52 does appear on maps. It is actually listed as the Tonopah Test Range, or TTR, but military watchdogs say it also goes by another name. TTR is really referred to in official documents as Area 52. Wow. That is very, very cool. And you know what? You could literally drive by that base. You really can. That is phenomenal. One quick story here before we got to go. A barn owl was rescued from a sticky situation in Britain when the avian found itself trapped in a bucket of molasses. Yep. Atkinson NER brought the owl to the Seymour Vets in Totnes, where he cleaned off the sugary mixture from its feathers. Veterinarian said the owl will need to be cared for over the winter so it can molt and replace the feathers damaged by the molasses, but it is expected to survive. If you're an owl or any type of bird, stay away from the molasses. Big thank you to everyone tonight listening on in. Thank you to Shane in the shift and taking us right across Canada. Big thank you to Geraldine Orozco and the spiritual youth, of course, Shirky Poo, and her wonderful news that she brings to you. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone tuning us in on YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, Twitch, the Space Travelers Club, and all the snarkers and snarkettes playing away on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. That was good stuff right there, people. Good show. Very good show. We should all be happy with that one. We should all be happy with that one. I know I am. I am totally happy with that one. I think we saw another side of Geraldine tonight that we normally don't see. And I thought it was great. I thought it was great. Geraldine was amazing tonight. And she was on the ball. Right? Look, I know we're going to get criticized over the topics that we had and my stance on it. Wallet Moth, how you doing, bud? Love that name. But man, we made good radio tonight. We really did make great radio tonight. I'm proud of us. Good job, all. Good job. Oh, you're glad that Jackson is back, eh? I'll moose oil tomorrow, Cat Chaser. Owner, how you doing, buddy? Why didn't that download? Download. Let's go. Get rid of that Mercury retrograde story. All right. Wallet, thank you so much for that super chat. Brutus, thank you for the super chat as well a little bit earlier. Really do appreciate that. No, Fedora John will be back tomorrow. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he's on with us. Yeah, John is just brilliant. He really is. He is a brilliant, brilliant guy, man. One thing about John that I respect, he's just so calm. Nothing frazzles him. Hi, D. Swagger. How are you? Bobby Chizzy, how's it going? All right. While we're getting the editing portion, while we're getting the editing portion going here. Anyways, great. Any questions for any of you? Tomorrow night on the show, by the way, while we're here, Rob and Tia, the Swamp Dweller, will be back talking some spooky stories, man. I love the Swamp Dweller, man. Dude is amazing. Good night, gorgeous Jules. Thank you, Nicola. That was a great show. Right now, that story is just breaking. We're trying to track it down. I've never had Eric Dubé on the show. Thought I was going to get him a couple of years ago, but didn't get that chance. Let's bring this down just a bit. Give me 2 seconds here, guys. All right. Oh, I have an itchy ear. There we go. Fijiora, come on. Figure out those questions, man. How did I meet Geraldine? Good question. I was chatting with my good friend and mentor, Lorian Fenton. And she was talking about this lady whom she'd met, a San Francisco resident who had been having some incredible experiences, but really hadn't come out publicly and talking about them. So Lorian said to me, when this lady is ready, I will make sure she gets on Spaced Out Radio, because Dave, I'm protecting her, and I want to make sure that she goes to the right shows, the right people, because she's brand new, and I don't want this I don't want her to get eaten, chewed up, and spit out, basically. And so Lorian interviewed her, said she was a fantastic interview, and then called me up and said, Dave, you really got to get Geraldine on. She's absolutely amazing, and her story is incredible. And so we brought Geraldine on, and we just developed this incredible friendship and kinship. And I called her up one day. We had another person doing the spiritual you at that time, and that person had to leave because it was just eating up too much time, and they were starting their own home business, and it was starting to take off, and it was pretty incredible. So I called up Geraldine and I kind of said, hey, this is what's going on. This is the monthly slot I have. I'd love to add you. I think you got a lot to bring to the audience. And she was like, sure, not a problem. And that's how it got started. We're like almost 5 years in with Geraldine. Yeah, probably 2016, 2017, 4 years, 5 years with Geraldine. Yeah, so it's pretty incredible. It really is. I do have Steve Stockton booked. Let me see when he's coming on. He'll be on next week on the 14th. Love me some Steve Stockton. Fantastic guy. Margie K is awesome. Is that it? That looks like it. That's it right there. No, Wallet Moth, I haven't had a chance to fix the Spreaker thing yet. I'll try and get to that this weekend. Yes, I have a fidgety aura, and it won't happen again. Had a bad experience with them the last time. Well, put it this way. The last time I had him on, I caught him in a couple of, I don't want to say lies, because that's kind of harsh, but a couple of tripping over his tongue, shall we say. And then after an hour, he knew he was doing the full show. And after an hour, he just hung up. And I was stuck there without a guest. And I thought we were having a good time that night. And yeah. So when you hang up on me for no reason, you don't get to come back. But I have an yeah, so that's just pretty much it. I sometimes can, Cat Chaser. Believe it or not, I sometimes can. Psychic Comp Chuck. Yeah, that guy was pretty cool. Cancel that. Copy. Paste. I haven't got to the one yet. I'm hopefully going to get out there this weekend because it's Canadian Thanksgiving this weekend. And I'm hoping that we can get out to that area this weekend. The other one I'm going to have to remove because during the forest fires, it wasn't hit during the forest fire, but they were doing a lot of, excuse me, they were doing a lot of clearing to make fire lines in the forest. And one of the fire lines that they cut ended about 20 feet from my gifting site. And so that one's pretty much, I think, going to be dead. I hope not, but that's the way I'm feeling it right now. There we go. I get turkey this weekend. We're the warm-up for American Thanksgiving. And then it leads to one of my favorite days of the year, Black Friday. And I was very disappointed last Black Friday. Very disappointed. There wasn't a lot, thanks to COVID, we didn't have a lot of brawling. We didn't have a lot of fights. We didn't have a lot of kicking. We didn't have, 40-year-old women ripping the toys out of children's hands. Didn't have any of that last year. It was bullshit. So hopefully this year we get back to normal and we see some high quality shenanigans during Black Friday. Come on, America. You disappointed me last year. This year we got to do better for Black Friday. Because we're thankful we're Canadian. That's why. Thank you, Moon. That's right, Chris Mo. I want to see a lot of stomping, a lot of punches, a lot of slapping. I want to see a lot of arguments. Okay. All of our American listeners, you have just over 7 weeks here to prepare for Black Friday. Do it well. If I'm going to Black Friday, I'm telling you right now, if I were to head to Black Friday in the U.S., I'm going with my buddy Fap because his head is going to clear the path to every single electronic piece that I want. When Fap puts his head down and starts rushing forward, there's nobody that could stop that. He's like a sledgehammer. Fap's my man on Black Friday. I have full faith that our man Fapster is going to tape up some tinfoil on his knuckles, okay? And he's going to go full on UFC at the local Target and then Walmart. He's coming out with an 80-inch television, people. He's just going to put it on top of his head and walk right out. And that TV's going to balance. I'm going with Fap. Fap for the win. See, Malou, you're wrong. You're wrong. Because there will be less product, that means that the brawls are going to be better. All right? That hot item toy for Christmas that every kid wants to have, okay, we are going to see a lot of crying children that day. I know you will, Fap. I have full faith in you, buddy. Full faith in you. They're going to see that size 48 head coming through the aisle, and they aren't going to know what to do. What do you say there, Doug Stevenson? Oh, are you dreaming? Dougie. See, Dee Swiger knows what to do. She's already getting her entire bodysuit ready for the brawls. I heard she even carries a mace. Not the mace spray, but an actual mace into the department stores. When she hits Best Buy, there is nobody stopping her. 2 Black Fridays ago, the rumor is Dee Swiger killed 42 people with her mace. 42. And the police let her go because they said, well, this is Black Friday. What are we supposed to do? It's Black Friday. Sorry, 45 people. I apologize, Dee Swiger. Enough of that shit. See, us people who are civilized Commonwealthers, we don't understand this. The Ronald Penton is here, everyone. The Ronald Penton. Better late than never, buddy. Better late than never. Perfect. Give me 2 seconds here, people. I just got to start the transfer over. All right, that's going now. Thank you, Cat Chaser. Amazing. Thank you so much for that wonderful super chat. Thanks, Peppa H. D. Swiger naming her halberd after me. Appreciate that. If I ever get out of Canada, bring that halberd over and I'll sign it for you. I think Black Friday was the reason why the movie The Purge was made. It was pretty much the same thing. Talk to Vincent, Vinman in our chat room. Chad, talk to Vinman. Hello, gorgeous Jordan Ashley Pettit. By the way, Jordan, thank you for that beautiful tweet that you sent out earlier. I really do appreciate that. That meant a lot today. Thank you. I am not going to the soccer aisle, Fap. Don't even talk such heinous words. It's not even funny. I'm tired. No, he does not, Wallet Moth, you bad guy. Bad guy, that Wallet Moth. Great name, but bad guy. Bad influence. Cat Chaser wants an El Ovni Volador premium t-shirt. Luke 99. Well, Chad Smith is working when I'm on the air, so it's hard for him to come on the after hours show. We don't want him to get in trouble at work. What if I told you? Exactly, Behoff. Exactly. What if I told you Have you ever been experienced? Not necessarily stoned, but beautiful. I remember when I walked through the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. Oh, hit my microphone there. And it came to the Jimi Hendrix section. And I saw the original lyrics that he wrote for Voodoo Child. It was so awesome. I was damn near in tears. Goddamn Boston Red Sox. God, I hate the Red Sox. Right on, Brian. Right on. Tomorrow I have, well, my son has hockey, which is awesome. So we'll be at the hockey rink from 5 o'clock till about 6:30. Chad Smith. How can you tell the whole Chad Smithism is going to his head? This isn't a bad picture, but I like the ones Vin Man makes more. We need more Chad Smith out there. Fuck yeah, buddy. Yeah, you do. Absolutely. Eat it up. That's what it's all about, bro. Eat it up. Did that just stall on me? No, apparently not. I might do another call-in show here soon. I haven't really got any dates in my head. Peppa, I'm going to say that may be in the works. That may be in the works. Trying to find something here. Where is it? Oh, well. I think we're at the time, Nicola, where we're going to have to say that any Vegas party right now would have to be rescheduled to the spring of 2022. Spring of 2022. I got to give people time, and if I give you a couple months' time, well, now we're into Christmas. January, we're paying off Christmas bills. Then we got to resave our money, so probably end of April. End of April would be the SOR party in Vegas. That's what we're planning for. And if we can't do April, we'll do May, and we'll do my birthday weekend. Here. There we go. Send that off. All right. A big thank you to a ton of people tonight. Smithy ×2. Nicola. Dirt Road ×2. Rooted in Gorgeous Sacredness. Michael, Brock, Carlito, Ozzy Ange, Kevin, Lone Wanderer, Cedric, Spooky, Cat Chaser ×2. And Ibarata, Horror Realm, Sig Sauer, Gorgeous Alicia, Brutus, Wallet Moth for the amazing super chats tonight. Really do appreciate your love and support of this show and what we do on a nightly basis. We couldn't do it without you. Don't forget, another great way to support this show right now is to go onto our website, spacedoutradio.com. Go check out the swag that we have. Click on shop, and we got some great t-shirts in there. There's more than just t-shirts. You pick up what you do is you pick a logo that you like, and then once you pick that logo, click on the shirt, and if you scroll down, it'll tell you that there are other items with that logo on there. Thank you again, Cat Chaser. I appreciate that so much. You're awesome. Hat trick. The hat trick for Cat Chaser. Thank you. You're amazing. And so go pick out your swag and grab a t-shirt or a hoodie or some stickers or a ball cap or whatever. And we got great logos for you. And it's another great way to support what we do on a nightly basis. A big thank you to Geraldine Orozco coming on for the Spiritual You. Geraldine will be back next month, as she always is. And a big thank you to everybody who has signed up on our social media accounts recently, all of our new subscribers on YouTube. Don't forget to go right about here and hit that subscribe button, and then right about there, ring the bell. All right, we would appreciate that. Give us a thumbs up or down. Really doesn't matter. We appreciate you. And so big thank you to all of you for that. Thank you for all of the people who are trying to push our social media numbers up. We can't do it without you. Following us on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR, and on Twitter at Dave Scott SOR is my personal one, and at Spaced Out Radio for the show. We love you. Tomorrow night on the show, Swamp Dweller is back. Yes, the Swamp Dweller is bringing in some spooky stories. So if there's something you guys want to know about, bring it to the swamp tomorrow night. We will talk to you all tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Much